Freaka TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 3.
It's been dark way too long in this place. That bright smile long gone been replaced.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to week 2 here of the GSL Codas. We're going into Group C in the round of 16. It's been a pretty exciting week for week 1 here. We're going to start this off with the ZVZ Dark versus DRG. Dark, probably the best Zerg we've got here in the GSL, and most likely the favorite to advance on into the round of 8.
Yeah, as we were talking about before the show started, I mean, Cure, now that Maru's been eliminated from the picture in that really kind of tumultuous day 1 of Group A with a lot of upsets, it feels like it might be Cure's year, and Dark seems like one of those players that absolutely has the skill to make it to the finals and deliver us with another TBZ. I'm looking forward to seeing how he's playing today, man. He's a mysterious Zerg. He plays kind of a wonky style. Yeah. He's not afraid of the late game. He loves his spellcasters. And, you know, given the new patch, like the changes to the Infestor and also these new maps, I'm really looking forward to how he's going to play these games out. Yeah,
you know, DRG, he's still pretty good at ZVZ.
Yeah.
He seems to be either really hot or really cold, depending on who he's against. But I think he is capable of maybe taking on Dark here. But the group's probably going to be tough for him regardless. Now, Dark seems to just be getting better and better and better. It does not appear like in any given season he has fallen off. He's looking inactive or rusty or nervous or any of the things that could be, pitfalls that a pro could encounter. He seems to be in good shape. He still has that hunger. So my bet for this is that it's going to be Dark taking this and then a real free-for-all to see who of the remaining 3 players can actually come out and survive. Because when I see the lineup of the rest of these guys, I think anybody can take it.
Yeah, it does certainly feel that way. I think that Dark coming in out of this one, if he can defeat DRG in the first match, he's going to have a Terran or Protoss, which he should be able to dispatch in that winner's match and just, book his ticket into the round of 8. But from there, really, things get a little bit messy. Of course, GSL here, we are crowdfunding this thing, supporting the prize pool, supporting the players. If you guys want to contribute, you can do so on Freaka TV through donating star balloons or on patreon.com as well. I think the $10 tier allows you to unlock the replays, which they say it might take a couple of days to come through, but so far this season they have been so quick in dishing out these replays. It's actually such a treat. I will get the notification on my phone coming home from the GSL that the replays have been uploaded. It's really fantastic. If you want to watch all these players, see how they actually plan their games, and we're only $4
away from the goal.
Yeah, that's crazy, actually.
If someone just gets a $5 bill out and puts it in, that dollar's going to carry over to the next season next year. So, look, guys, this is kind of the state of things right now with Blizzard in a, I guess you could say, a transitioning period.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, as Microsoft takes over, what their interest in StarCraft is going to be. But for now, it's really up to the community, to the fans, to people that are passionate about StarCraft and esports to support the GSL, and your support is appreciated. And this is kind of the direction a lot of things are going to now with Patreon, with subbing to people's stream channels. It's gotten a lot more grassroots.
Yeah, and I think it's good for the game too. I mean, StarCraft 2 has matured over the decade plus that it's been out to this kind of position where really we as a grassroots community, even with no publisher support, can deliver excellent content like this. I mean, ESL is still going strong, GSL is still going strong. There are countless cups that take place seemingly every single day. I'm tuning into streams.
Every day, yeah.
I'm watching them if they're in Korea, if they're in EU, if they're NA, if they're special, team show matches or Korea versus the world. There's nonstop content, and that wouldn't be possible without the support from the fans. So thank you, guys.
And by the way, if you want to come down and watch our show live in the audience, there's a link at the bottom of the screen there. You can get that. You do not need to be a Korean to get that. I get messaged that a lot, whether I'm streaming or I get a DM on Twitter or something. But get a ticket. You can't get in without a ticket. You can show up, and if there's room, buy a ticket here in the studio on your phone. But do that. We're not filled up right now, but as we get further along, there are days where it does fill up. So if you're traveling out here, maybe you're touring through Seoul, and you'd like to get a little bit of Korean culture in the esports sense, definitely make sure you get a ticket early just so you can absolutely get in and enjoy the show.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. And here on Group C, Dark versus Dongregu to start things out, and Astrea versus ByuN as well. So Really an interesting group. I like that we have a little bit of everything in here. Going to get our first taste of ZBZ, I believe, so far in this GSL, and that should be a wild one with Dark and DRG, who kind of each play into their own style and their own strengths in kind of a unique way, which should be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, if I think of DRG in any matchup, I'm thinking of his Ling Bailing control. That can be ever so important in ZBZ. And then also Astrea, you know, the only other foreigner besides Scarlet who had a great showing in Group A to compete here. I know that he's been sick for a little bit, but he said, you know, I talked to him before the show, he said he's feeling better. He feels like he can give it his all today and deliver a good performance. And with the way that he's been competing online, he's looking good. But let's get started going into the first match between Dark. Oh, player introductions, excuse me. I was kind of thrown off by that. But yeah, Dark and DRG coming in on stage. Dark, I mean, this guy needs no introduction. He's constantly one of the best players in the world. Really a brainy Zerg, almost a Nest-T type Zerg in the modern era where, you know, you watch Dark play and it's not so much just his control, although his control is top tier. It's not really his macro mechanics, which, you know, frankly, from my outsider point of view, it seems like his weakest strength is his macro, but he is just so smart. He's so good at navigating the late game. He's very resilient. It's hard to kill him, particularly in matchups like ZBT. And that delivers pretty consistent performances, a lot of top 8s, a lot of semifinals and finals appearances, many championships, one of the best in the world.
And his opponent, DRG, look, this was maybe the best Zerg that we had in the Heart of the Swarm era. You know, such a powerhouse player. He is, for a little bit, you know, he had a hiatus here from the game. He's back now. He does occasionally have these moments of real brilliance here. I do think it is possible for DRG to win. It will be very hard, but his ZVZ is still solid. That muscle never really seemed to atrophy in his play, and he's also very familiar with Dark, so this should be a pretty fun, close match. Obviously, Dark the favorite to take the whole thing, maybe even the whole GSL, if I'm going to be frank with you guys, especially with Maro out of the picture. That was the big plot twist of our whole season. To start this off, we went full-on Game of Thrones and killed the main character in the first episode. And so with Maro out of the picture, now there's a lot of other opportunities here for these players to try to move their way up the ladder and maybe take the whole thing. And now we're ready. We're going to go to Oceanborn for map 1 here. This is Dark versus DRG.
DKZ Gaming, Dark. Club NV, DRG.
All right.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. These two powerhouse players going at it. ZVZ, we always have to wait and see. Where is the fork in the road as far as the build orders go? Sometimes you'll have it where it's literally mirrored up to, you know, several buildings in, and there just isn't a whole lot to remark on here. One thing about Dark is he does seem to show a huge range of play. He can do, you know, road Ravager stuff. He can go into mutas. And it's very hard to ever tell what he's going to do. He also does oscillate between doing cheeses that seem almost unnecessarily risky for what he's going for, and then very conservative play. Drones and Roaches, GG.
That's so good, actually.
Excellent signs.
Yeah, DRG does love his Roaches, man. That's a great sign. I like this opening that DRG went for. It almost feels like a ZVP opening where he went for the hatch before Overlord, did an extractor trick to get out another drone, and then pops the Overlord and plays it from there. So this hatchery is going to be really quick, considerably faster than Dark's. Both players also going for the gas. Dark a little bit faster on that one, as DRG is just now slowly beginning to saturate his gas geyser. And I'm wondering if this means that Dark might be a little bit aggressive early with the Lings. As you said, he's not often one to shy away from going for early game aggressive builds in really any matchup.
Yeah. So now we've got to wait to see, you know, what exactly this game is going to be. You know, when you look at a player like Dark. He knows he's better. He knows there are a couple more Zergs in the tournament as well. So he needs to have a range of builds that he can carry out through an entire series if he's going to win the whole thing. Where I feel like if you look at Dark here, it is, DRG here, it's a moment where it's like, okay, this is kind of it. This is almost like the most important tournament already, or the most important part of the tournament, excuse me, already is here. I've got to come out, I've got to win, I've got to bypass this one Zerg player, and maybe I can squeak out in the winner's match.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's only Solar waiting for them in the round of 8, right? So potentially, unless Sue's able to qualify there on day 4 on Thursday, it might just be one more ZVZ ahead of them. And I think that you hit the nail on the head right now. DRG, whatever the best possible build is to deliver in this series, he's not going to hide anything. He's going to bust out every single tactics. But if you're a veteran like Dark, who, you know, coming into this one is arguably the favorite to win not just this ZVZ, but this entire group, you know, maybe there's going to be a little bit more mind games. Maybe he'll go for some more all-ins to try and, you know, hide the way that he's playing in the mid game or the late game, try and add some fog of war in terms of overall game planning in the series.
Well, we've got the deviation in the builds. We've got DRG hunkering down onto the 2 bases. He's got a dozen Lings making. He has the armor upgrade coming. And he's banked a bunch of these Zerglings in the back. Now, on the other hand, Dark is actually expanding out. He's stretching out onto the map. And so this could look like from the outside, with the turtling set up the way it is, that there's not going to be attack inbound for a while. In fact, the armor upgrade's kind of a red herring because it signals to Dark that there's plenty of time for him to macro up and get ready, when in fact this Ling attack is inbound. There's 14 more Lings making. We've got a ton more streaming across the map now.
Yeah, it's actually such a smart build by Dark. He built that Roach War in the front too, knowing that Dark would scout it, and then he just goes for this straight Ling flood. So a ton of Lings coming across that map. First Evolution Chamber does get canceled. DRG not able to breach into the natural, but that third hatchery almost definitely going to go down. And I mean, that was a really clever build from DRG, just really throwing Dark off his games when it came into the scouting. As I guarantee, as you said, the red herring of the armor upgrade coming through, the Roach War into the front, he was not anticipating this. And so now, for Dark, how is he really going to be able to hold on? He might be able to take more damage here, but this is very expensive, this Evolution Chamber wall in the front.
I mean, this is kind of wild. He still has it plugged up. The Queen is going to be taking a lot of damage. There are Zerglings that can still block off over here. As long as the Lings don't fully break through, I think there still is a real chance for Dark here. There's so many on the outside. They are all committed to...
Oh my goodness.
Oh, is he going to get it out?
No, he's not going to get it down! The Evolution Chamber gets blocked. DRG flooding in. There are 8 Mutalisks in production, but these Lings are going to wreak havoc on the eco. And DRG, with a really creative build, is off to a great start. This might just be game-ending damage.
I mean, this is a lot. And I got to say, the mind game's really coming out here for DRG. He really sold a very different game here to Dark, and Dark took it. Dark accepted it, thought he was just going to be able to circumvent this tech, and there's almost no drones left.
There's actually 33. Dark did something insane there.
Oh, you're right. He had so many stacks.
He stacked 30 drones in that little gap on the mineral line, and what you can actually do in that situation is Dark, is you can pull all of the drones. If you micro them perfectly, you can spam gather on that mineral. They will phase through each other, and then you A-move. And most of them are going to be able to get the attack off on the Ling. So those drones fighting really cost efficiently, and that was a lot of damage done by DRG, but with this wall getting fully... Seeing Mutas in a defensive role like this against Lings with a wall is kind of a unique situation, but you know, maybe Dark has some chances to stabilize here, but still a ton of damage getting done. He's down 10 workers overall. Yes, he does have the Mutalisk advantage for now, but DRG going for a Spire of his own.
Yeah, and you know, no third hatchery as well for Dark anymore. So, I mean, the damage has been done. You're right, that worker micro trick was sick and actually bought him a little bit more time, but the infrastructure is very, very damaged right now, and it's hard for Dark to find much more to do with these Mutalisks out here. Once the spores are up and the Queens are out, the opportunities to really eke out additional damage with the Mutas really goes down.
Spire completing now for DRG. 1,100 gas banked up. Right now, Dark only has 10 Mutalisks on the field, so very soon DRG is going to be able to catch up in Muta numbers, and it looks like we're going for a Muta versus Muta situation here, which I gotta say is kind of surprising given the current state of the patch. You know, now that Infestors can pop, they immediately have energy for Fungal. Now that Hydralisks come online a little bit more quickly. Overall, Mutalisk play, it is a bit weaker now in Zerg versus Zerg, but both players gunning for it here.
But it almost seems like this Muta play kind of makes sense versus the Muta play of Dark, and that he just has another base with another gas and banked up that much more. And
right.
with less drones that Dark was left over with after narrowly surviving the attack, it just seems like it's an easy way to, you know, kind of win the game via a math problem of just having a superior number of Mutas.
Another interesting thing to note here is that DRG is going for the air armor upgrades as opposed to the attack upgrades there from Dark. Knowing that he's going into a Muta versus Muta fight, just really wants to be able to capitalize on mitigating the damage of those glaives. Already +1 ground weapons, or ground armor, excuse me, here for DRG as well. So a lot of armor overall in the cards here for them. Dark still behind a lot of workers.
Yeah, and there's not an easy way for him to catch up. He's still about 10 workers behind, or just got to be about 10 workers behind. But pretty soon, DRG is going to be able to pull the trigger. It would seem like the way the timing would map out, he would basically hit it right around now, and I guess that's what we're going to see in a second, because this is the moment where Dark could start to soak up more gas on his end and maybe play a little bit of catch-up. But, you know, structurally, the defenses are very different from Dark. He doesn't have spore colonies everywhere, so these Mutas are really at liberty to hit and attack anywhere that they see they can get away with damage.
I almost feel like I'm watching a Phoenix versus Phoenix PvP right now with the setups that both players are running. And now, Dark, for the first time in this game, his Mutalist count is getting matched by DRG's. They both had, for a moment there, 24 Mutalists on the map. +2 air weapons starting for Dark. DRG, after getting +1 air carapace, is now upgrading air weapons of his own. Upgrades relatively equal. I do give the edge here for DRG, though. His economy is still superior. He's been up pretty much 10 drones this entire time.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, Kenny got the closer out. He did the damage. He's hobbled Dark considerably. And so it's all going to be about, are you going to have enough to actually take the big fight? And this moment, the Mutas are committed on each other. One of these players is right, the other one is wrong. Okay, it is going to be Dark that realizes he might not have enough. There are a lot of Zerglings here on the ground as well. And, you know, the Mutas and the Queens are going to be very preoccupied trying to defend against the Mutas here of DRG. Some transfuses go down. Does Dark actually have enough to maybe tip the scale in his favor? And it looks like he is going to chase us back out. 8 more drones are killed. So Dark is continually oppressed here economically by the moves of DRG.
Yeah,
and DRG closes that game out with a win. GG, game 1. You know, we talked about the possibility of an upset. It's already happening.
Yeah, that was such a cool build again by DRG. I love that. I almost didn't catch on to what was happening because I saw the Roach Warren. I was expecting some kind of Roachling timing attack, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. He's making all the links first. How does this line up? And then he just didn't stop making lings.
He basically invests in the optics of Roach Tech just so that he knows a player like, because, you know, Dark and all these other great Zerg players, they know exactly how many extra drones they could make and then still get away with defending. But if you think a Roach attack's coming and you're so much later, these links just come in there and destroy everything. So a pretty genius build that clearly DRG prepped for that exact moment. It already paid off. He's already halfway there. Can he do one more game where he comes out victorious? I mean, he probably won't use that strategy again today, but does he have another idea like that?
You gotta think he does.
Does he think that he can actually beat DRG, Dark here in a straight up matchup as well? We'll see.
He's got 2 games to play with. Already up 1-0 here against Dark. 1 map win away from going to that winner's match. Let's see who takes it.
DKZ Gaming, Dark. Club NV, DRG.
I love this build we're seeing from DRG, by the way.
And there's an intensity in DRG's face in that last camera shot. Like, you could see he's very tensed up. I mean, this has already been a wild GSL. Like, Maru's literally the first player that was eliminated. DRG could win here. We might even end up with, like, the double trouble here, where DRG beats Dark. Maybe Dark even loses to ByuN or Astrea in the losers match.
I mean, absolutely could take him down.
Yeah.
ByuN's kind of a killer. But for DRG, this definitely feels like a must-win situation. He's been struggling a lot against Terra. Oh, I love this sign. Hi from Russia.
Yeah.
Welcome. Fans from all
So
over the
Dark
world
support.
here.
I think Dark still got a good shot to survive this group, but it's not a good start.
And DRG is showing that he did a lot of preparation for this match. That was really an ingenious build that he delivered.
I don't think I've ever quite seen that build.
No, that was, it caught me off guard. I was so impressed by it. Like, you didn't really notice until the Ling Flood truly came to fruition. What was at stake?
Yeah, I've seen Ling Floods where what they do is they just get the Roach Sword in the Evo chamber, but just even to try to get the armor upgrade to just sell that.
He finished the armor upgrade too. When he did that later attack, he had 1-1 on the ground. And you also have to consider in a Mutalisk versus Mutalisk fight, you know, the glaives, if the Lings are under the Mutas when you're battling, some of those glaives are going to bounce down and hit a Ling.
That's right. They can be glaive batteries, basically.
Yeah.
So you're actually absorbing damage in another way, too. A very different approach, and one that definitely caught Dark off guard. A lot of ZVZ does seem to be about finding the vulnerability of your opponent or finding your own vulnerability right in between early game and mid game.
Yeah, I talked to a variety of top Zerg players because I was really struggling to kind of grasp with the mechanics of ZVZ in terms of the mind games. And the consensus from whatever all of them said to me was basically the hardest thing to do in a ZVZ is to play a straight up safe macro game because there are so many variables. There are so many ways your opponents might just try to cut corners economically and then be able to get an edge on you in the eco war, or they might be able to come down with an all-in or some kind of timing attack. And that's one of the reasons why even when a player like Dark, for instance, is sometimes favored in a ZVZ, he will just go for the all-in even though he is the better player because it simplifies the game to a point where he can actually just navigate it with complete information. And so I'm wondering if he's going to mix it up and bring some kind of timing attack to the table on his own. But now on match point here against DRG, it's hard to call, and a fast layer coming through for Dark.
Yeah. Very quick layer, a Roach Warren at the entrance, and the missile attack upgrade is being manufactured here.
So Overlord's kissing a little bit.
Yeah, one Overlord tailing the other one. Now, we don't have a layer started yet for DRG, and we have Queens moving. Okay, no, he's going to send the Queens back. I was going to say, this is an odd moment to send 2 Queens across the map.
I thought for a second he might be trying to chase down an Overlord, but then I look at the minimap and there isn't one.
No, I think it was just a misclick.
Yeah, probably.
So, the layer is going to be done pretty soon here for Dark. The third base is being taken. A lot of ZVZs, it's like one guy takes a third base, the other does not.
This is looking very similar to the previous.
It's
basically the same build, I want to say.
It's just versus a different build from Dark. So Dark sees it, so he knows he has to start to plug up the entrance.
And this is a little bit less committed than previously. Remember, last time there were a ton more Lings coming across the map for DRG. So we'll see Dark continue to wall behind this, but Roaches are out, so this will get deflected. I feel like this play, because DRG was droning behind it, is more about just really shutting down any potential third hatchery from your opponent.
Yeah, so this is like a kind of one way to describe this would be like layering inside of a best of 3. This build plays off of the first build in game 1 because on the surface it could look like, especially from Dark's perspective, oh my god, he's going to try to cheese me out with the same thing twice. He gets to force a cancel, actually drone up, get a third, and then play basically like a second type of iteration of build 1. So there's some real genius at play here from DRG. He's really come with a master plan. And right now, Dark is falling for it, at least to some extent. He's being forced to react and respect the moves here coming from DRG.
Oh, is he going to get that cancel?
Yeah, almost gets the kill, too.
A very good catch here for DRG. I'm loving the prep that he's showing in this series. Just the way these builds are, as you said, playing off each other and really branching out. Showing that as a baseline, this can bring quite a range.
Well, it just seems like Dark is hurting. I think Dark might have to come across the map and try to do damage right now and try to equalize this. We do have Roaches. I'm sorry, Roaches are actually heading back. I thought they were going to be making a beeline maybe to the third. But right now, Dark is playing from a bad position here. DRG up just slightly with workers. DRG up basically, well, he's close to even right now as far as army goes, but that means he basically can't be attacked, right? Because the guy that goes across the map is always going to be meeting with the reinforcements of the other player who can get them there more quickly because he's just defending his base.
Yeah, Dark back at home, adding in some Ravagers now. So I think that his game plan is going to be going for a Roach Ravager attack, probably with +2 weapons and +1 Carapace. But DRG should be pretty close to matching that. You know, he already has the first armor upgrade on the ground. He is getting the range attack upgrade, although I think it is a little bit behind Dark's +2. So there might be some window where Dark, with this Roach Ravager timing, should he choose to go for a timing, does have the upgrade advantage, but you know, it won't be too significant, I think. At the end of the day, really, what's going to matter is the macro behind it. And DRG, he's playing very safe after getting that third base. He's fully droning up. He's just droning up a modest amount. He did have a Changeling scout that got through to Dark's natural expansion at some point and got a lot of information. Oh, wow, Dark going for, not Drilling Claws, Tunneling Claws. I've been losing too many games to Widow Mines. I just see Drilling Claws everywhere.
It's unbelievable. Even they have Drilling Claws now.
Oh, that's a cool play, though. If this catches GRG off guard and he has like 2 or 3 Roaches popping off at every base with a frontal attack,
I mean,
Dark might be able to whittle out and get some damage. I mean, the mass is so big right now for DRG.
The thing is, DRG has so much. I mean, where are your Roaches going to be going to sneak around the map if you could just get clobbered by this massive force that is DRG? A pretty interesting trade there over the bushes. I think some good moves by Dark, but he could still chase us down. He's still going to kill that last Ravager. Does this seesaw all the way into a full-on attack here? I feel like this might be an overextension, actually, for DRG, but let's see.
Yeah, reinforcements are quite far behind, but still trading out quite well. It's only just now that Dark is really starting to get the favorable trades with the Concave there on the top ramp.
Yeah, that was an overextension. I think he got a little bit too greedy.
I was wondering whether there might be a window there for DRG, considering that his economy was better and Dark was investing in Tunneling Claws and Burrow. But still, Dark able to defend, and now DRG a little bit on the back foot. Lower in the Roach count, the drone counts have equalized, and DRG also going for Tunneling Claws of his own.
Yeah. It's still 3-base to 3-base.
What's that?
I do think that DRG is actually a bit behind after the overextension. It's so important to know when to pump the brakes and when to lean in. Here come those burrowed Roaches. He's going to fork these out to each of the different bases and probably going to kill a lot of drones. And I mean, we see 3 now going into the main. I think there's 2 over at the natural.
Yeah, 2 at the natural. Should be able to one-shot some drones. Is some economic damage coming in. I love this play here from Dark. I mean, these are so hard to chase down.
This is pretty beautiful because now at 12 o'clock, Dark is expanding. So he's really getting to kind of have everything he needs and also keep DRG up against the ropes here.
You know what's even, adding insult to injury on top of that is that Dark, when he tunnel clawed the Roaches into the main base, he went right next to the Spire of DRG. So he knows what tech is coming, and now he's throwing down a Hydralisk Den back at home. So not only did he kill, 7 or so drones on DRG's side of the map, but Dark also has a very good idea of the Spire switch that's inbound. And, Hydralisk, they do come online a lot faster. I wonder if Dark is thinking that DRG might cancel this, and he's actually building Spine Crawler. So he also has Tunneling Claws on the forefront of his mind. Dark really just trying to prepare for every possible circumstance here. I love it.
Now, this is still playable from DRG's position, but one thing about Dark is if he gets this deep into a game, it's kind of hard to imagine him, giving the position up. He's pretty good at that balancing act of always staying ahead and trying to keep whatever advantage he can keep as long as possible. The Overseer is going to spot the Spire, by the way, and that's going to be just before 8 Mutalisks are going to hatch.
I think before that point, Dark did not make the Spore Crawlers. He did not make any Hydralisk Den because he knew the Spire was being built, but he also knew that DRG saw him scout it. And so there's a little bit of a mind game there in terms of, is DRG going to cancel the Spire? Is he going to allow it to complete and still commit to the Mutas despite the scout? And so I love Dark just going back in again with the Overseer, getting the confirmation before committing all of these resources to really investing in dealing with the Mutalisk. And as a result, DRG is just going to be a handful of Mutas. He's throwing down a Hydralisk Nest? Den? What is it?
A
Den!
A desk, right?
Hydralisk desk. They're going to their office jobs,
yeah.
casting GSLs of their own. Yeah, DRG also just going to make a handful of Mutas and then switch out of it. I like that play.
So things quiet down a little bit here. It doesn't look like we're going to have more stealthy Roach attacks from Dark. You kind of have one shot to really do that, and after that, the player should be ready to be hit with that at any point in time here. So there's going to be spines and spores put down here at each of these bases. But both sides on 4 bases, maxed out. And we're going to go probably into a pretty long, drawn-out ZVZ here. I don't see any obvious advantage. And when I look at this, I don't even see any obvious move that one side needs to do to the other. I think it's going to be really a game of positioning here as we develop further and further.
Yeah, Lurker versus Lurker. DRG's Hive about halfway done now. And some pretty significant upgrades on the ground for both players. +2 missile attacks, +1 carapace. You can see our DRG continuing to pump out those upgrades while also roaming with these mutas. Should be able to get a couple of kills there on that hatch, but perhaps more focused over here on this fight coming in. Dark, I do like his angle right there. A little bit of a better concave.
Yeah, DRG, actually, I think if he can loop around to the top here, I think he's just going to have a better angle. This actually could be the start of something maybe even fatal here. There is another wraparound here at the bottom, and it seems like the roles are going to be a bit reversed here. The Queen's in the back for Dark, unable to really do much in aiding with damage. Harder for them to get their targets, but it seems like Dark thinks he can move in, and DRG agrees that this was maybe another mistake. He's going to have to back up. He does save the bulk of the Ravagers, which is important. Those are really high-value units in a fight like that, but more roaches are going to be made. And look, DRG is up in supply again, both in workers and in army, although it's just slight in army. But he might try to make even more Ravagers and try to push through. We're basically seeing DRG locked into this layer tech kind of brawling Zerg style, where Dark is trying to just kind of get more advanced at it and get enough Hydras, but I don't know if he can quite accumulate enough in time. And so we're going to see another big blow come in here. Oh, and also some hidden roaches over here doing damage to some of those workers.
Yeah, and I like these plays by DRG, just using the mobility here to try and find angles of attack where the Lurkers are not yet present. Dark does not have those Hive upgrades coming in just yet. That Hive, in fact, only going to be completing soon. So any trade like this for DRG is going to be a pretty good one. Even getting surrounded here, it's not too bad because he can fight on both sides quite effectively and just really chooses battles. Bile's even coming in. Down on the Lurker is getting a lot of value, although Dark is going to be able to push this back. So it wouldn't be a Dark game without one random Swarm host getting built, by the way. It feels like every single late game Dark plays.
I feel like, yeah, it happens with him more than any other player.
Yeah.
The one random Swarm host moving around the map. It's like not a hero unit, it's not a critter either, it doesn't have any kind of real important role.
So DRG, he's only just now starting to make Lurkers, but he did have the faster Hive timing. And he already, there's the Swarm host, yeah, just the hero unit that Dark always brings to the table. But DRG, he's already gotten some of the upgrades, I believe, for these Lurkers. I think they already have their range upgrade right now. They're getting adaptive talons or whatever that burrow speed upgrade is called. And so there should be some plays that DRG is able to find as the Swarm host. At some point, you have to wonder whether this is an intentional play or not, sending these Swarmos across the map, because he does it consistently. Just shift-click around, going to try and find some damage at maybe the 4th or the 5th base of DRG, but...
Yeah, good usage of Burrow back there to keep those workers alive.
Yeah.
Well, DRG is growing a little bit more now than Dark. Dark has, I think, been forced Turtle, and that's why we see the 9 o'clock position neglected as far as expanding there. I think there's a world where DRG just keeps pressure around there, and it's hard to advance position with Lurkers. It's one thing to hold your ground, but when it comes to trying to unburrow and then dive in and push, that's a problem. And so this means that we might have to see Dark expand kind of towards 12 o'clock.
Yeah, 12 o'clock. I think you're probably going to want to go that way and then eventually maybe work your way back towards 9. But as you said, it's kind of hard before you get maxed out. Both players now, I think, with Seismic Spines. Yes, both players with Seismic Spines completed, so there shouldn't be any range play really being used to advantage here. 2 Vipers entering the field for both Dark and GRG now as well. Blinding Cloud can be a very important upgrade or ability to use. And a lot of these late games fights, actually 13 Lurkers for Dark to the 8 for DRG, so really investing more heavily into these high-tech units. The Swarm host just dies. Poor guy.
Another stealth move here with the roaches snaking around the bottom of the map. Was there no spore? Oh no, there's spores. There's actually plenty of spores over here.
Yeah, you have to have them against tunneling claws like this, but really not a lot of other defense. Jerry's gonna have to come back from the middle of the map to defend this position.
We should definitely point out that this base has been here for longer, but it has not been mined from, other than the gases. So it's not been utilized the same way. You know, this is a balancing act as well. How many drones in a game can you actually get? There's a point where you would have too many drones and they would eat up more supply, bring in a lot of money, but you wouldn't be able to ever have an army that's as big as what you need to take on your opponent. In the meanwhile, 9 o'clock.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of Vipers, Tastes.
Yeah.
5 Vipers coming out from DRG.
Well, I think he's going to have a pretty good answer to this entrenched position that Dark just acquired over here at 9.
And I like what DRG is doing a setup at home. I believe he's anchoring, you know, 1 lurker in pretty much every single base to try and, oh, this is a nice catch too.
Oh, wow, yeah. Big connections there as those roaches are chased back out. But we've got Vipers as well here for Dark, although I think DRG does have just a little bit more.
4 for Dark to the 5 for DRG. Very high in energy too, so Blinding Cloud's gonna be clutch coming in. They do pop on those lurkers. DRG sieges up. And actually, Ducks coming in on the other Vipers. Do we have anything to focus them down? Parasitic bombs as well. The Hydralisks, unfortunately, there weren't enough of them. I think they might have gotten 1 Viper, but that's all.
Yeah, he's going to harpoon some of these lurkers over there. I don't know if this is going to allow him to crack this spot open. It was actually a little bit of a bumpy attack that he had trying to come in there, and now it's going to be trades here with the Vipers, harpooning some of the lurkers in from DRG. And so I got to say, Dark comes out on top in that fight.
I think if DRG just had a handful more Hydralisks, I mean, the abducts on the Vipers were so huge. If 3 or 4 of them got taken down there, I fully believe DRG would have been able to run over that position. But instead, you know, most of the Vipers escaping with very low HP means that Dark is able to manage the defense there with some nice abducts. And overall, look at the bank. A lot of minerals here for Dark. DRG a little bit more heavy on the gas as he just continues to catch all of these roaches moving their way across the map. I mean, really, you have to try and find some avenue. And also, I love, look at this mass.
Yeah. How many different upgrades could Zerg have? That's a lot of Evo chambers.
You know, even after the patch where like, it sucks a little bit less life out when you're consuming the buildings, Dark's just like, no, I want to set and forget this. I love that. You always see Dark making these plays too, like throwing in macro hatches when you might not necessarily need one, or all these evolution chambers for the Viper energy.
Yeah, he's very good at development.
Yeah, it's wonky a little bit, but that plays out quite well. So most of the last of the roaches getting traded out, only 4 left on the map. Dark just really trying to find any way to get value out of these high supply units that really serve very little purpose at this stage in the game.
So, I mean, from here, it does seem like there's a little bit more map presence from DRG. Like he could shut down a couple more bases, but Dark's positions, you know, the ones that he's actually claimed, you can't break in there and get anything done. I mean, like this attack over here, I can't imagine it's going to work. Oh!
Actually, there on the triangle third, getting some big damage in was DRG. A lot of critical abducts right there. And you got to start taking note of, you know, Dark's gas bank. It's very minimal. It's going to be hard for him to replenish those lurkers.
It's a very good point, State. I mean, the reality is that, you know, when you have this many bases, the minerals come flooding in. But if you're bouncing to 0 on gas over and over, the same way that Dark is, compared to DRG, I mean, DRG has some very deep pockets in this game. He's already at 1.5K in gas, and probably will be able to continue to bank up on that, which means that when they both have a big fight and trade out, what is remade on each side is going to look extremely different.
9 Vipers on each side. DRG burrowing to regain HP, but Dark is going to try and push the position. We'll see if any abducts come through. A lot of Hydralisks on both sides of the field. I mean, so many Vipers. Tasteless, wow.
Okay, you can see the kill there on that Viper.
It's just such a funny interaction. I know how important it is in like this late game ZBZ scenario, but I'll never get tired of Vipers abducting other Vipers.
Yeah.
Just trading places like musical chairs almost. It's comical.
Dark has an explosion of bases, by the way. 2 into the bottom left, 1 towards the top right, where I don't think that DRG might be ready for this tempo change here.
Big adepts coming in. I think 4 or 5 different Vipers getting taken out there. Yeah, actually both players going down to 4 or less Vipers when we had, I think, double digits before.
And you can see immediately the gas is all spent right now here for Dark.
Yeah, Vipers are so expensive.
Yeah. Now, that's great for DRG, but if DRG doesn't act on his opportunities to reclaim parts of the map, it's going to still hurt him. He's going to attack him here. I don't think that DRG actually has vision yet, or maybe he does in these bottom left bases. I guess there's an Overlord that can see that down there.
Yeah, and Dark might be caught a little bit out of position right now. The Vipers on the left side means there's no support here for these lurkers, so DRG going to siege up. Get some really value picks, and for Dark with this explosion of expansions, as you said, it's kind of hard for him to defend this position where DRG can either choose to hit the triangle third or that upper center base. But eventually Dark able to push him out. But again, these trades just keep coming in where, you know, lurkers and Vipers get abducted and eliminated by DRG, and Dark's bank, no matter how hard he tries to really, you know, deepen those pockets with gas, it's been a struggle for him. It feels like oftentimes he's on a breaking point where he's not able to replenish with the units that he critically needs. Very hard game to navigate, late game ZVZ.
Okay, this is a crazy interaction here. I think it's possible that with the surround that DRG has, he's not going to be able to pull anything off with this. I mean, it seems like that trade out was really bad.
I think Dark might have just broken his back.
Yeah, he's just so good at engaging in moments like that. DRG lost something like 70 supply in the course of 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, there was some awkward control there from DRG where he like the Hydra ball was almost completely blinding clouded at the ramp by the triangle third, and they were just eating shots from lurkers. They never retreated. I love the idea that DRG was going for, trying to set up with this flank by going also into the middle of the map, but Dark, when he's able to pounce on a position like that, I mean, he has such killer game sense with late game movements. One of the best micro zergs, I gotta say, in the business, especially in these very tricky, almost wonky situations, and he's gonna tie it up 1-1.
There's something remarkable about players that know how to deal with these interactions early on, but it's even more impressive when you get into the crazy late game. Like, I had this experience just watching Raynor when he was playing at Gamers 8, where like he had just insane usage of his Vipers and everything else to come in and close out a game that had gone on for an extremely long period of time. Like, he just understands how to deal with that. And that's exactly what we saw there from Dark. He just knew how to use a huge army to overpower an army of his opponents at the same size.
DKZ Gaming Dark. Club NV DRG.
So he's just now mined out that patch in the bottom, and it looks like he's going to come up here to the gold.
I was wondering about this. I saw that he wasn't going for the same extractor trick hatch first build as before.
So
and
right
now I see why.
Right now, this build is better for DRG. If you both go hatch first, but you're taking a hatchery at the gold base, it's pretty good. So now I want to see, with DRG having an upper hand early on, can he do what he did in game 1? I do think if this game goes over like 15 minutes or so, I just don't see Dark ever losing. He's just too comfortable in those types of games.
Yeah, he's very good in late game ZVZ, and I actually haven't seen a ZVZ played out on Alcyone yet because, you know, this patch has only been live for about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more.
Right.
We got it quite late here on the Korean server, and so Dark going for the hatch and the natural expansion, DRG expanding and now transferring a ton of drones, so 6 in total here to the gold.
This is a bit of a lull where he's not going to be getting an income. By the way, just want to point out, this isn't the craziest concept, taking the gold base. It's actually one of the earliest kind of common strats we had on these maps. So I do want to see, you know, how prepared is Dark going to be for this? Because anytime you look at any map like this, you got to go, well, there's always the chance they take the gold base, right?
And I'm actually wondering if that second Overlord for Dark is going to try and spot the gold, but yeah, here it comes. So he's going to find out about as early as he possibly can, seeing the creep extending past those destructible debris, and instantly from Dark, Ling's in production. A lot of Lings too. He is not putting that foot off the gas pedal.
Now, first of all, the proximity of DRG's gold base means the Lings are a lot scarier. They can get right up there. But there's also the dilemma of there's two very different locations to defend, right? Like sometimes you'll see these games where they over-defend the gold base, and so the player just goes right into the main and kills everything. So Dark also going to take a third base along with this, so he's still going to develop on his side normally, but he's probably going to create some opportunities for aggression. Now the idea from DRG is you take the gold base, and with the gas that you already have, plus the gold minerals, that lines up economically perfectly to just crank out a ton of roaches.
Yeah, 6 now in production. It is Dark after he had a brief lull where he added in a couple more Zerglings, or a couple more drones, excuse me. He's now back into Ling production here with Metabolic Boost finishing up in just a couple of seconds. And it might be a little bit of a tight wire act here for DRG to try and defend the main base and the gold base, just as you said. Keep in mind, there is a Baneling Nest on the field for Dark, and a lot more Lings coming. So these next couple of moments are going to be really critical in deciding who wins this battle. I love these two Banelings on the right side, by the way. Find out those minerals. Send them around the edge. Might catch DRG. Not looking. On the minimap, those Banelings are heading now into the gold base.
Here we go!
Okay, 4 drones down. Those are high-value drones at that gold. And now the aggression hitting the main base. Instant surround on the Queen. DRG caught a little bit out of position as Dark's going to try and find the drones. Will he get the connections? There's so many Lings.
He's being really patient with these Banes. He's like not overextending with them at all.
It was value though. I mean, they basically ran interference on the Lings of DRG and allowed Dark Slings to basically clean up the majority of the drones mining in the main base. And so now DRG, despite being on this gold, he only has 4 drones there and 16 drones in total. Economy massively in the favor of Dark, but that's a lot of roaches on the map, Tasteless.
You see DRG with the raw strength on the map, but the fact that Dark can be in so many different places at once. Now the drones have been killed in such a number, it's going to be very tough for DRG to play catch-up, but DRG, it's just a train of roaches moving through the map, but they stop. They're not going to commit onto that third base. He's going to wait. He's going to make even more roaches. I saw, I think, 1 or 2 drones made, but instead, he's not going to go back and try to drone up. He's going to try to come here with a counter blow.
And no Banelings on the side of DRG, and a lot of Lings in his army, so might have to see some Baneling snipes from these roaches. That's a lot of Ling Bane. He actually gets a big surround right now on these roaches. Baneling's looking for the key connections on the front line. DRG, he pulls the Lings back. Those roaches taking a lot of damage, and DRG's like, okay, you know what, this fight in the front, it's going well, but I'm gonna go for the drones in the main base.
Yeah, the Lings are gonna come in now. And the roaches spill forward over here onto the third base. Some transfuses come down, but there's just so much to deal with. 1 Queen goes down. Note that there are no drones over at that third base, so there's not a lot of easy value targets you could try to wipe out. There's still a lot of Lings and Banes back at home. These other Lings over here for DRG come down and try to do some damage of their own. 21 workers to 17. That gold base looking like a pretty tempting target for a possible Dark counterattack.
Wow, what an explosive start this ZVZ. I think Dark had a Baneling connection in his main base that we might have missed with the Observer because there were so many Lings just flooding in there. And then we get another glance back at it after the roaches cleaned up the fight at the third. And there are just a handful left. Not too much economic damage done there to Dark. And now 24 drones against 17, as you said. But that gold base means that the mineral income, it's only a little bit in favor of Dark. You see DRG hovering right around 1,000 minerals per minute. Dark around 1,100, sometimes 1,200. But more drones going down. I think those were on the gold base too.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I think one of them was almost killed off, but has just enough hit points to try to recover.
That really hurts.
More Banes are being made. And, you know, it's a moment where the Banes are going to be so high in number, the Lings almost can't play any kind of role. And the roaches, I mean, they could eventually take quite a bit of damage from the Banes here as well, but pretty good maneuvering actually by DRG. Creating some opportunities of his own over here. And now he could even be in range. Yeah, to try to come in here. I was wondering, would he go for the Baneling's nest or instead just try to get drones and even this out immediately? The Banes are going to come in. They might just have to connect onto the roaches, which isn't ideal. But you can see DRG's control is pretty good. I mean, the roaches are still alive. The Banes are still in pursuit.
Oh, big hits right there in the main base. And I think Dark might have done it. DRG with no economy back home, 11 drones.
That was sick.
He laid it all on the line with that last attack, but Dark able to hold the defense, and that was a really fun game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great series overall, and, you know, the favorite does come out on top. Dark does win, but, man, he had to work for it. And DRG, he's got some very cool ideas of his own that he is able to run with and basically make it, honestly, just a great ZVZ. And, you know, we haven't had a ZVZ yet this season, so that was a very welcome one. Dark's going to go down to the losers match. He's not eliminated yet. And, of course, DRG's going to go down to the losers match. Dark is going to go up to the winners match, where he's probably, no matter how you cut it, the favorite to move on first here into the round of 8. Short break, guys. When we come back, our American player, Astrea, versus our Korean player, ByuN. Stay tuned.
Lit up the phone. You let me see that you're all alone. You're like the boy, you make the moves. I fill the void for you. Shut up, don't speak. You complicate things and you know what I mean. Black tank top girl, you can put it on me. Little by little we give in, give in, give in, and you let go. You don't swim, I can tell lies like you want me to. Gray area, your favorite. Gray area, your favorite. I found your book, I read your themes. It left a dent on my self-esteem. Your toothbrush is still on my sink. I used it once just to taste it. Shut up, don't speak. You'll complicate things and you know what I mean. Black tank top girl, you can put it on me. Little by little we give in, give in, give in, and you let go and you dive in and you tell me that you don't swim. I can tell lies like you want me to. Gray area, your favorite. Gray area, your favorite. You're my world. You are, you are, you are, you are. You're my world. You are, you are, you are. Shut up, don't speak. You complicate things and you know what I mean. Black tank top girl, you can put it on me. Little by little we give in, give in, give in, and you let go and you dive in and you tell me that you don't swim. I can tell lies like you want me to.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성 사이다 제로.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
청량한 이 순간 칠성 사이다로부터 칠성 사이다. 똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성 사이다 제로. 청량한 이 순간 칠성 사이다로부터 칠성 사이다.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
챙겨주는 사람이어가지고 선비기 필도 있고 그냥 뚝딱뚝딱 정리하고 그냥 아무 말 없이 떠날 것 같은데 게임으로 리더에 가성이 안 맞는데 게임하는 게 좋아 안 들어가지고 게임도 똑바로 했으면 좋겠어. 표정도 애들 다 웃고 있는데 인상이 되게 살벌하더라. 착한 척 하면서 설계는 많은 걸 펼쳐 있거든요.
Today's matchup. Dark. DRG. Astrea. ByuN. Round of 16. Group C. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 3.
Welcome back, everybody. GSL continues on. Dark does ultimately come out and defeat DRG, but man, those were really exciting games that those two made for us here. Up next, we've got Astrea versus ByuN, and this is going to be a fun one. Look, I'm very hopeful for Astrea here. You know, GSL, it is the global StarCraft League, although it's obviously had mostly Koreans for its history. But we do have these international players that come down to play. Astrea has been in many, many GSLs. And he has not performed as well as I think a lot of us had hoped. I mean, Scarlett has had her moments at GSL, but the same is true for her as well. I think people hoped that she would get deeper in here. But this is another moment to turn a new leaf, to see, you know, what Astrea can bring. This guy has... One thing that he does not suffer from is issues with nerves. He's never stressed out. He's never nervous at the studio. He's very relaxed. He does not take his losses too hard. And I think that's going to play to his benefit. But he's also going up against ByuN. ByuN, funnily enough, is one of our more emotional players, you know, if we were to put him on a spectrum. But yeah. I think he's been in very good spirits the last couple GSLs we've had.
He seems to be having it all kind of put together. And I guess when you have stats like that on the left side of the screen, a lot of top 8s, top 4s, and even top 12 at IEM, I mean, you're going to be feeling really good, really confident with your play. ByuN kind of reinventing the meta a little bit in TVZ. He's been pioneering. And so, you know, when this patch got released and I knew we were going to be doing GSL, you know, a couple of weeks after it, one of the first players that came to my mind in terms of, you know, when we have a shakeup of the meta is how is ByuN going to play TVP on this new patch, because oftentimes he can be really creative with the builds that he comes up with, not just in TVP, but just in general.
I do think he has a mind that can wrap itself around a new patch and kind of navigate a new meta very cleanly. So this should be a fun one. PvT, of course, it has gone through some changes. We're still learning and unpacking how the matchup looks as we get further along here in the GSL. Of course, we're on so many new maps, and there's just such a big update just 2 weeks ago. Let's see what happens. We have Astrea duke it out versus ByuN. Remember, the winner goes up against Dark in that winner's match as well.
Macherino Esports, Astrea.
Oh, hold on. We have one is it one SCV going across the map?
We have Insta Scout from Max.
Oh, Insta Scout from, yeah, excuse me.
Astrea.
in my mind, I'm like, well, ByuN is always blue.
Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
I was getting tripped up with
Yeah.
DRG versus Dark because for the first couple of games, I don't know if you noticed, I kept saying DRG instead of
Yeah,
Dark.
yeah.
I was like, oh, the colors, they just keep confusing me sometimes.
So this is going to be a probe coming right across the map. For some reason in my mind, I decided since ByuN has to be blue, I'm like, oh, he's going to do like a proxy barracks over here. But
Nah.
this is one good way to just confirm that there isn't, in fact, a proxy barracks or anything else weird happening, because you get to see that that's been made inside the main base.
Yeah, I like this decision, especially going up against a player like ByuN, because he can be pretty cheeky with his openings sometimes. We've seen ByuN execute builds that it feels like no one else in the world can, especially with units such as Reapers. I mean, he just is so good at kind of fidangling with these armies that are absolutely crazy. Came out from Australia to root for Astrea. ByuN, bonkers, boys. All right.
I love that.
Love the signs. I mean, ByuN, you know, sometimes he makes like a ByuN army where it's just like, it's like 2 Reapers and like a Hellion. Maybe I'll have like a Widow Mine or something in there. And it just doesn't look like it makes any sense.
Right.
And then you'll see him control it in some unbelievable way, and it will just get huge value. And it's like that, how? How are
Yeah.
you doing this? It feels like no other Terran player can do this kind of thing.
Oh, excellent. We love this sign.
Taze is cheering for Astrea.
These are great signs in the audience. So good to have you guys down here.
I'm saying, man, the level of cheerfuls we've been getting this season,
The cheerful meta's up.
it's up.
The cheerfuls also got a patch.
We got new maps to play on.
New maps to play on for the signs in the audience. So, you know, not anything too interesting so far in this game. These are pretty ordinary openers. I'm basically watching to see if ByuN is going to try to set up for any early aggression, because he does seem to like to just at least start interacting with his opponent early on and try to keep some kind of in-your-face element going there. This Reaper is going to come up, but the Adept comes out just in time to drive it out. It's going to be Stargate tech for the Protoss.
Yeah, and ByuN caught that right away. Factory coming down. I'm wondering, okay, I was curious whether ByuN was going to be reactoring out a couple of Cyclones right there, because that is something you can do now with a new patch. Cyclones cheaper and also no longer require a tech lab to complete, but instead for ByuN, just going to be making Marines out of the reactored barracks, add in 1, maybe 2 Cyclones, and then going up into that starport. And you know, a lot of players that I've seen from streams, pro players will react to the Cyclones now with a Stargate in terms of response. And then some other players that I will watch will say that Stargate units in Phoenix are absolutely terrible against Cyclones. So there seems to be, you know, a little bit of a difference in terms of how players are analyzing what the best thing to do is in the current meta against Cyclones in TVP, because, you know, Cyclones in TVP, they're not quite as useful as they seem to be in some of the other matchups. You know, in TVT, we've seen them earlier in Code S get insane value in a lot of games on streams. I've seen them get a lot of value against Zergs. For instance, when Terran opens with kind of a battle mech style, Cure is one of the Terrans that loves to do something like that. But in TVP, they really are kind of struggling to find their niche at the top level of play. But still, there is a difference in terms of how Protoss players are choosing to deal with it. Now, the Cyclone, it will be able to lock on with its Oracle, but of course, max release range now, I think, being reduced to 9 on the current patch. It's not really the stop ball, you know, ace in the hole for the defense for the Terran that it used to be. So Astrea is going to retreat without Oracle, potentially use it for stasis wards later on, or maybe he'll try to find some more damage with an attack coming into the main base. ByuN getting the confirmation there on the scout, sees the second and third gateways there in the natural, and Astrea really with a nice, safe general approach. You know, 3 gateways, going to be coming into a third base very soon. That Nexus does go down, and
I feel like if we're going to copy a build for PVT right now, this is it. This is not a new build, by the way. It's been around for a while.
That's a safe one.
Now, the Cyclone's going to be moving out with this army. The Cyclone functions better with the army now. So here's going to be that aggression I was pondering if we were going to see come out. He has the tanks hidden inside the medevac, so this might look like it's roaming, when in fact he wants to try to set up a position and start to really control this, start to really shell down that area as best he can.
And this has the potential to get some damage done. These tanks are going to siege uncontested.
Oh man, I don't know. These SCVs, they do a decent job repairing, but a lot of the Stalkers can't get back home okay. The tank, you know, one tank being down is pretty big. I thought for a second the repair was going to be good enough. So he edges forward with another tank. The bunker is being set up here.
I really like this angle that Astrea is coming in from right now. Blink about 2 seconds away from completion, but using this overcharge to really trade out and get some value. Good number of Marines going down. Blink is done, so some more micro here is...
I don't know,
There's potential,
man.
but yeah, this attack's getting a lot done.
Okay, the Oracle's getting some work off over here, but, you know, not just this gateway, but the pylon, like, he could basically unpower gateway production here, or get that to just, you know, only 30% of the gateways are working, basically.
I almost feel like Astrea should start using that Stargate to pump out more units. Even if it's not the best in this situation, you just need to find a way to spend your money. I think it's still only 3 gateways, now 2 here for Astrea. Oh, big blink forward, but multiple siege tanks.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
going to be
is-
game. That's it.
Wow. Decapitation move coming out from ByuN.
Yeah, this is like a knife to the heart here, this game. It's always a bummer, right, when you see the blanket, and it's like, yes, you got the tank, but you lost everything that you had.
Yeah. That's
GG.
it, GG. I mean, I think the opening there for Astrea at the start of the engagement went about as well as it possibly could. He was able to pick off 1 siege tank, only mostly taking hull damage on the Stalkers. He used the battery overcharge to absorb most of the damage and even trade out a couple of Marines, but
Yeah.
in terms of production, there really was no follow-up there for Astrea. I think if he maybe had the foresight to build a number of extra gateways in the main base before that attack pushes, there is a world where it's possible that with excellent control, he can hold that push, but I mean, ByuN is just so deadly with these timing attacks that he's just like...
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those, like, gotcha moments. Like, you
Yeah.
think about all these games where you got to be ready for Widow Mines. There's this period where the Protoss has to be hyper-vigilant about anything that could come, but the idea that you just drop 2 tanks out of a medevac, set up shop, and suddenly, not only are you hitting that expansion, you're hitting half of the infrastructure that Protoss has, and it just seems like Astrea wasn't quite prepared for that. Was instead ready for, you know, any other kind of play but that. And so we're going to go to hard lead here for map number 2. Let's see if Astrea can turn this around, or if ByuN's going to go right up against Dark in the winner's match.
Macherino Esports, Astrea. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
And
So-
now tasteless.
Yeah, now, no, see, I was right. I was just in the wrong timeline. It was in game 2 that building could see that.
Can it? It can.
What?
What am I talking about? That
What?
It seems like it's a lot more vision, but yeah, it certainly
What am
can.
I even looking at? What is this? I'm angry now.
Is
Why
it
would
possible?
you make that there? Maybe it's hard for the probes to get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean,
Okay.
it can't be hit from this angle. Oh, ByuN is so good with his control. But
Did
it's
it not
it feels a little bit like a gamble, though, right? Oh, maybe he just has the read on how to do this. Oh, this is so
Oh
cute.
my god, okay.
He's just starting it and stopping it, and he's reading where the SCV is going to go, and he's only sticking the build if it's going to be there in the corner.
This is wild.
It's a micro
I've
that
never
even
quite-
at the pro level, we don't see this.
I've never quite seen this. I don't know that, you know, by the way, if you misclick once by a mistake, like escape,
Yeah.
you could lose this building. But apparently this will just
Uh-huh.
get done. Oh!
That SCV will sacrifice their life.
And now there's more.
Whoa, I feel like this
Might be an overreaction.
overreaction.
Well, I think that my bet is Astrea learned this the same time we did. Oh, this is a perfect sign for this moment.
Oh, I guess
What?
it was. It was right. It's kind of hard to read,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
the surface area and the damage, but I guess ByuN, I mean, if ByuN is lifting the barracks, then he has the correct call.
I think he's
and
got to land it again and start one more Reaper.
I don't know if it's going to finish.
Yeah, maybe not.
Wow, what an opening there for Astrea. I got to say, like, my gut instinct when I see those probes getting pulled down into that third base to attack the Reaper, I think it's a mistake. But Astrea is just so good. He has done the math in his head, and he knows that if he goes for that play, he will have enough surface area to damage that barracks and force a lift.
That was insane.
That's a great opening
I
right
have
now
never
for
quite
Astrea.
seen the SCV abused that way to force the structure out.
Yeah,
But
that was cool.
Yeah, and it's so funny because initially we see it and we go, well, he can see that, right? Then it's like,
What
well,
are you doing
Of
then?
course he can see that, and that's also where they always block with their
Yeah.
buildings to stop a Reaper. So what's the idea? But then apparently you can just kind of finagle the SCV into the back over and over again, and it's not, you're not truly dealing with the same kind of pathfinding, but Astrea looks at that and goes, well, I know how long it takes to make a Reaper, and you still have suffered enough damage.
He really does, by the way. If you guys are watching,
it was crazy.
Astrea, when he plays on the Korean ladder, he plays also a lot of Terran on the ladder. He's a top 25 KRGM with Terran.
Yeah.
Astrea knows how to play Terran, so he can see that and make that read. That's a very good point, Tasteless.
And so he sees that and he goes, well, I might be losing money right now, but the reality is you're never going to get the Reaper out, and so you can't really start what you intended to do.
And on top of that, too, Astrea, knowing that there's no Reaper on the field, he has free range to move his probes across the map and get a full scouting. So he went for a delayed scout in the natural of ByuN, and he saw exactly what the follow-up was. He saw the factory coming in. He saw that there was a command center on the high ground. Now, only one Stalker, so Astrea will need to absorb some of the damage here with the probes, as the Stalker will not win that straight up.
Getting 3 probes is pretty big.
Yeah, it's
now,
nice.
I do want to point out, it's easy to be misled in this game and say, well, you know, he stopped the barracks from ever making the Reaper, so maybe Protoss is ahead. The math gets a little bit weird. I'm not sure exactly where we're at with when you pull that many workers. Keep in mind all the SCVs were still mining back at home.
It was expensive.
Yeah, that's... It could be quite painful to be not mining for that long.
I think each worker mines about 50 minerals a minute, give or take, and that was 6 or 7 workers that were pulled for half a minute. So, man, it starts to add up over time. There is certainly an expense of pulling probes like that. It's why you don't see Protoss players always pull probes to attack a hatchery in a hatch block situation, because the math actually just doesn't work out.
Now, the CC lands, so the SCVs will be transferred over here. We do have Banshee tech with Cloak. There is an observer being made, but we got to see where the observer is going to go.
Yeah, oftentimes it will just go cross map and try and get a confirmation on the scout, but
exactly.
That is not what Astrea will want in this situation.
And he could probably get a lot more workers right now. The worker count here, it is still...
Oh, that's so clutch.
Yeah, this is great. It's actually too bad he didn't kill that probe over there. That is still a worker.
Yeah, the observer's going to come back, but it was already about a third of the way across the map.
Well, this is just going to die.
Yeah. Not bad. Only 3 probes.
Second Banshee inbound here. Into what looks like the same location.
Yeah, and I love actually this play from Astrea. He knew that he was going to have the observer finish in the natural expansion in time to deflect that Banshee, but he still brought the other observer home from halfway across the map so that he can cover both the main base and the natural from any future Banshee harassment. So he is really safe on all fronts right now. And behind it now, starting Colossus production, and ByuN once again going for a siege tank timing.
It's kind of the same idea, but the implementation is a little bit different. This time, it's the Banshee that's the big distraction that could allow once more a setup with the double siege tank Marine and Cyclones here to basically just kind of force this game to end. He's going to go for the third base instead of the natural, and I don't think there's any way this Nexus finishes. I mean, this is just...
I think it's got to be a cancel.
Yeah, you have to. And he does get the cancel off, not destroyed. And he's just going to back up. Now, remember, if you don't see medevacs over the army, when the Terran tries to run, they will be killed if they start to lose the fight. So this is kind of YOLO by ByuN. He can get further up with the tanks. He's going to try to leapfrog him. Nice kill there on the observer. Good instinct.
More Stalkers getting warped in now. Thermal Lance about halfway done, and ByuN looks like he might try to siege this natural position.
Yeah, this is really smart. He also has the tanks spread out that he could end up baiting this army forward. The Stalkers are actually... Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they were going to go... Yeah, they're going to go north. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're trying to intercept any reinforcements.
But there's no reinforcements.
Yeah.
He knows that this is exactly where he wants to walk away from this. So 2 gas is not being mined right now. One is destroyed. The other one just vacant. And with the push forward, what is... Oh, he's fine.
Yeah, ByuN has not been reinforcing this, so... A lot of units back at home, but... You know, for Astrea, maybe you see the situation. If you're able to get these Stalkers out of the danger that they're in against that Sim Bio and recall them back home, you might be able to take an overwhelming engagement on that fortified position ByuN has at the third. I'm wondering now if Astrea is going to try and race back and just clean these units up, because if he can wipe out that many Marines plus a handful of siege tanks, It's probably going to be a cost-efficient fight for him, and ByuN is only just now moving across to reinforce, so let's see if Astrea decides to take it or if he's just going to play this slow.
The thing is, it's not an easy place to puncture.
Right.
So, and look, he's going to get yet another observer, keeping him guessing. Meanwhile, there's another force in the north. It's going to head down soon. Concussion shells is on the way. Oh.
I feel like you should attack into this as Astrea. If the other army comes and hits the third base, then suddenly his position gets way harder.
Well, I think that's what's happening here. I think that basically this is positionally just totally, one player outplaying the other. He comes in now, he gets this beautifully done. I mean, dude, ByuN is everywhere.
Yeah, this
He's just moving better on the map. Like, it's actually kind of insane.
Oh, those siege tank hits are so big on the Stalkers. Marauders come in and focus them down. Might even be able to get a Colossus. I don't think there's a battery here at this third base. And Protoss is just falling apart.
Yeah, in fact, that one Colossus is going to live, but I mean, we don't even have, we barely have an extra operational base here for Protoss. The hull damage is so much right now on that Colossus, we know that's never going to recover.
I feel like that was just a killing blow. That was so much damage done. The entire key unit count there for Astrea was reset. The Stalker Ball is down to about 6 units now. Colossus, even the Robo Bay died. That's the only Colossus you're going to get, and it's so low on HP.
Yeah, the Zealots are going to come forward here. And, I mean, they're doing okay. It looks like the Marines should be able to clean up that final Zealot. The Colossus is actually shot down by the tanks, and GG ByuN just 2-0s that. We had one long dramatic series to start this show off, but our second match has been, I think that was like 15 minutes or something like that, 20 minutes. It was super short, the whole series.
Yeah, that was a quick one, but ByuN came out with some killer builds, man. Both in Game 1 and Game 2. I love the way they play off each other as well. They kind of look very similar. Remind me of DRG and his prep for Dark in that first series. And ByuN, obviously very happy with his victory. He's going to be going up against Dark in the winners match later on.
Yeah, I mean, that was really impressive for ByuN. And ByuN with some new ideas, right? This double tank Cyclone Marine push, no medevacs, no concerns there. He's going to get it set up. He's going to get to exactly where he needs to be, whether it's sneaking it out with the first medevac or no medevacs at all, and he goes straight into Banshees. Guys, winners match coming up next. We'll be right back.
Never saying that I done enough. Yeah, the road is rough, but I run it up. Undercover, get a couple bucks, man. How do you feel for real? Hit me coming, I build and build. Tongue sharper than a sword, I yield and steal. You can never kill the real. You know when the skills reveal. You know I ain't losing my focus, twisting my fingers. I'm giving emotion, letting my folks know that it's time to roll and we going wherever we want to. It's inevitable. Look at the dash, incredible too. What I achieve should make up the news. Don't ask where I'm coming for you. land with the son of man with me. You don't know I can do it, huh? Hand me the lighter fluid, let me fire it up. Enough is enough. Told me you were one of us. Well, brother, I'm calling your bluff. My belly is rumbling. Huh. See how I'm coming and give me the money and double it. Nobody sitting around a stomach and building an empire, never crumbling. How come? Why your speech be stuttering? I can see it in your eyes. You covered it, but you had it once before. You fumbled it, but it's my turn. I'ma run with it.
With you I'm flying. Girl, you take me away. No point in fighting, 'cause I keep loving you, babe. Ooh, you're never burning out. The fire is alive in your soul. Ooh, you're like the moon and the stars, and it's keeping me holding on. Move till the morning and keep me falling. My heart keeps running. Stay the whole night. You feel it.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
하늘은 우리 향해 열려 있어. 그리고 내가
청량한 이 순간 칠성사이다로부터.
함께 서 있는 그너는 푸른
칠성사이다. 똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
하늘은 우리 향해 열려 있어. 그리고 내가
청량한 이 순간 칠성사이다로부터.
함께 서 있는 그너는 푸른
칠성사이다.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
챙겨주는 사람이어가지고 선비기 필도 있고 그냥 뚝딱뚝딱 정리하고 그냥 아무 말 없이 떠날 것 같은데. 친구를 믿어야지. 가성이 안 맞는데. 게임하는 게 좋아 안 들어가지고 게임도 똑바로 했으면 좋겠어. 표정도 애들 다 웃고 있는데 인상이 되게 살벌하고요. 착한 척 하면서 상대는 많은 걸 참고 있거든요. GSL
시즌2 끝나고 시즌3까지의 시간이 좀 많이 남았다고 생각했는데 벌써 이렇게 촬영을 하고 있다는 게 믿기지가 않고 그만큼 좀 시간이 빨리 간 것 같고 따로 뭘 했다기보단 그냥 온라인 대회 같은 걸 좀 많이 하다 보니까 하루하루가 너무 빨리 가는 것 같아요. 그래서 특별한 거 없이 그냥 여태 생활했던 것처럼 쭉 생활해 온 것 같습니다.
I've been relaxing in Korea for the last 2 months. I've been eating tasty food and I've been rock climbing a little bit and hanging out with friends in Korea.
2~3개월이 비긴 했는데 그때 동안 휴식한 건 아니고 온라인 나가는 대회마다 그래서 성적이 좀 괜찮게 나와서 쉴 시간은 거의 없었던 것 같아요.
뭐 시즌2 예선을 못 뚫는 바람에 되게 오랜만에 인사를 드리는데 그렇게 막 그 전과 다른 루틴을 가진 게 거의 없는 것 같아요. 그냥 뭐 똑같이 생활했던 것 같아요.
사실 저는 그냥 8강만 가면 만족할 줄 알았거든요. 근데 막상 8강 가니까 만족이 안 되더라고요. 아 설마 여기까지 왔는데 4강까지는 가야지. 그 대진 나왔을 때도 레이너였을 때 괜찮다고 생각했어요 저는. 근데 제가 또 어느 정도 결과는 마음에 들긴 하는데 경기력에서 조금 만족이 안 돼가지고 조금 아쉽고.
GSL만 놓고 보면 회사기들 사이에서 분발한 박용호 아닐까라는 생각이 좀 많이 아쉬웠고 그냥 성주도 준비 잘해오기도 하고 워낙 GSL에서의 테란이 기세가 좋다 보니까 저도 완전 큰 기대는 안 하고 있었거든요. 그냥 우승 직전까지만 가보고 싶다라는 생각을 했는데 좀 많이 아쉬웠던 것 같아요.
I was really struggling versus Terran last season in particular, so I knew Kier would be a really hard match for me, and it was. And I thought I would do okay versus Young, but I think I needed to use a more build variety, and I think it would have gone better last season. I'm not sure why I always qualify through the winner side, but lose in the round of 16.
아, 맞 집에서 했었구나. 그때 현아한테 맞아. 시즌1 현아한테 그것도 다 이겼었거든요. 3경기도. 질 수가 없는 거였는데 어떡하겠어요 제가. 경솔했죠. 저를 탓해야죠.
되게 만족스럽죠? 얼마 만에 4강인지도 모르겠고 제가 처음으로 GSL 하면서 예선 안 하는 게 처음이었어요. GSL 시즌1 시드로 제가 우승했을 때는 마지막 시즌이었고 그래서 시드가 없었는데 그래서 처음으로 예선 안 해서 너무 좋았고 시즌2도 8강에 가긴 했는데 솔직히 저희가 올라간다는 생각이었는데 경기력이 마음에 안 들었어가지고 좀 많이 실망을 했죠. 예선을 하게 되는구나. 또 이번에도 예선에서 지옥을 갔다 왔거든요.
저는 근데 조 보고 처음에 보자마자 좀 너무 잘못 나온 게 아닌가 너무 어렵게 나와가지고 상대적으로 좀 어려운 것 같아요. 저희 조 힘들 것 같다라는 생각을 했어요.
I think my group was pretty hard. I think Dark is obviously really strong, and ByuN is really scary. And also DRG is quite good. So I think even though I was lucky and got a third tier placement, I think I still got a pretty hard group.
저한테는 최악인 것 같아요. 영호도 현우도 최근에 되게 잘하고 아스트레아도 까다로워요. 저 올라가면 기적이 아닐까 싶을 정도로.
오 만족스러워요. 1티어 중에는 그래도 저 영호가 조금 자신 있어 하는 편이라서 그나마 1티어 중에는 영호가 제일 원했는데 영호 땐 괜찮았고 뭐 수호 형이나 아스트레아 선수 둘 다 잘하는 선수긴 한데 그래도 제가 다 상대 전적 앞서고 있는 선수들이라서 되게 만족스러워요. 저번 시즌이랑 좀 비슷한 것 같아요.
Today's matchup. Dark. DRG. Astrea. ByuN. Round of 16. Group C. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 3.
We got the drums going. All right, now the guitars are on. What's up, everybody? It's time for the winners match. We had two very different best of threes. A very dramatic ZVZ with Dark versus DRG. It was neck and neck, pretty interesting ending to Game 3 there. Dark does come out on top, surviving the roach rush there from DRG. And ByuN versus Astrea, I mean, that was just so short. I wish there was more to say about it, but basically, ByuN was able to promptly end the game twice on two-base pressure. The same idea, but implemented in two different ways. But effectively, ByuN is able to spring two tanks along with a Cyclone into a position that the Protoss just isn't ready for. You know, we've had a lot of games with Widowmine drops, and that does seem to keep the Protoss at home, locking the doors, shutting the windows, closing the blinds. But then you get a tank push that comes at an unusual time, sometimes without even a medevac there. And it's like, oh, well, it's too late now. Now you're going to be taken down. I want to see what ByuN does specifically here in this TVZ, because he had some very cool new ideas. We're still fresh on this new patch. It's right out of the oven. And so, you know, this should be a fun one. I think it's going to be a bit more of an exploratory cast to see how these two are approaching the matchup right now. But Dark versus ByuN, two players in top shape. One is going to move on here into the round of 8. Sorry, you don't get to talk at all, State. I've been here the whole time. No, hold on, I'm not done yet. All right, guys, this game's ready to go. Let's get into it.
I want to say words too, tasteless.
No, I'm sorry.
DKZ Gaming Dark. Shopify Rebellion ByuN.
I'm really wondering how ByuN is going to want to approach this best of 3 against Dark, because Dark, of all the Zergs in Korea, it feels like he is the most resilient to dying. He'll play on lower drone counts than other Zergs are comfortable with. You know, when you watch Scarlet try to defend a push from Maru, she'll be pushing 75, 80 plus drones. If Dark is in the same situation, I'll welcome down to the studio, guys. ByuN, never give up. If Dark is in the same situation, I would be surprised oftentimes to see him past 70 drones. You know, he plays a very lower economy, a very safe style, where, you know, his economy, it's not going to explode and run you over, but he's not going to die.
Yeah, you never see Dark just like the attack shows up and the game ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, so I was
Wow.
seconds away from saying we've seen this build from ByuN a million times. It's going to be the double racks at the entrance, but he got a third in his main. So ByuN really pioneered this double racks wall in that allows you to get a bunch of Reapers out. And the fact that you get the second Reaper out a little bit earlier, it creates a different tempo that Zergs are having a hard time dealing with. Now, he's leaning into it even more, and he's going 3 racks Reaper. So Dark, who's going to see the second Reaper come early, is probably thinking, yeah, 2 racks Reaper. But it could be misleading how, as the Reapers come in, you know, how quick he can figure out, oh my God, this is 3 racks and requires a very different game.
Yeah, I like this from ByuN, because Dark feels like one of those Zergs that wants to get to the late game and just utilize his superior unit control, play with a lot of spellcasters, play with Vipers, play with Infestors, Lurkers, and play a very cost-efficient ZVT style that honestly is hard to crack, but ByuN kind of coming through with a crazy build like this one. 3 racks Reaper. Oh, I love that drone control. Almost even blocked it. On the other side, too, a surround on that Reaper would have been huge for Dark.
Oh.
Just barely missing it multiple times.
Now, the second Reaper comes up, and we've seen this threat created before, where the Queen has to slow walk off the creep, and you could use the grenades to basically bounce them back off. There are more Lings coming across the map, and just to be clear, all the Reapers are rallied to the group, so it's not like he's pocketing any to kind of spring a surprise on him. But he did scout that there's no command center, and that means you know those minerals went to a barracks. What?
Dark is so smart, too. Send those Lings to the middle of the map, gets a surround on a Reaper. And this is a really fast Zergling speed, by the way. It's about as fast as you're going to see it at a ZVT, so ByuN is not going to be expecting this. Going for the surround, that grenade is pretty good. Should be able to whittle these Reapers away. Is he going to be able to escape, though? The Lings are looking for another surround, but ByuN barely gets away with all of them. Those grenades were insane.
Really well done. The regen's going to kick in a second here. And, I mean, now what? We've got drones being made back at home. Is the wall in actually... Okay, there is a depot above that barracks, so he is all plugged up. And that third hatch is going to restart. Back there just below the second base.
Wow. I mean, that game could have turned on its head very quickly if Dark was able to get a full surround on those Reapers, and the grenades weren't as quite on point as they were there for ByuN. And Settle continue on. ByuN did get the cancel there on the third hatchery, so Dark's economy a little bit slower building than he would like. That's just so many Reapers to have parked back at home.
How funny. So hardly anything's actually been killed, by the way. For as dramatic as this game has been, only 1 Reaper, 1 drone, and 1 Zergling. But a lot of times when you go for this kind of a 3 racks Reaper pressure opening, if it doesn't do much, and I mean, I guess it did deny the hatchery once, okay, so it did get something done. It's kind of hard to get that momentum back here. Now, knowing ByuN and the way he likes to play, I think he's probably going to try to hop right back into action. So we want to see, you know, can he make this work one more time?
I'm wondering how he's going to utilize these Reapers, now that they're kind of entering the stage in the game where they don't have quite as much utility. ByuN, he's not going into Hellions, he's just focusing in on the bio. Of course, with that 3 barracks opening, he would be hard-pressed to macro up with a lot of Hellions, as it delays his tech quite a bit. So for now, he's just going to roam a little bit here where the Reapers get a feel for what's going on his side of the map. But I do wonder if we're going to have any kind of push with a high number of Marines, with Stim Pack, with the first couple of medevacs, and the Reapers just trying to maybe anchor it and throw in some grenades. Because I'm trying to imagine what that attack would look like with the 7 or so Reapers that we have on the field. It just feels so wonky imagining it. But, you know, ByuN, he's very good with these armies, although I guess... Oh, the Marine's actually coming in!
Oh my god, he just baited him in there. He was like, oh no, my Reapers are surrounded.
I saw the Reapers get surrounded, I'm like, oh, forget it. We're not even having to worry about that. Yeah. The Reaper's going to get wiped off the map, but... Oh man, I love that play there by ByuN. Yeah. Perfect timing with the Marine move out. Even having
this Marine lag behind in the back, like he's creating this illusion of a disjointed army that, as a Zerg, you're just waiting for that moment to try to dive in. And then, you know, he actually reorganizes really, really nicely here. So he's going to be cleaning up this creep. There are roaches out here. How many are there, though? The Lings are going to come in now. You know, the fact that the Lings were thinned out earlier there, I'm getting a little bit worried here for Dark. I mean, it seems like there's just a lot of sustain here.
That's a lot of damage coming through. Luckily for Dark, because did not have combat shields during that engagement. An extra 10 HP on all those Marines could have made a difference, but still good value.
He really thinned out what Dark had. I'm getting a little bit worried now for this next attack that's going to come in. Very thematic here for ByuN is kind of the reliance on just 2 bases.
He's a very aggressive Terran player, especially in TVZ. Even sending this medevac back home to repair it. And I like that call.
He cut down a lot of the roaches. This time combat shields is done. We have 2 more medevacs about to pop. Whoa!
Oh, is this Maru?
This
what are we looking
is
at
crazy.
here? And this is with siege tanks as well. He might think that he just whittled down the Zerg army enough that he can go for a killing blow here. But right now, Darky's pumping out a lot of roaches. Roach speed will finish in time for this attack, but 1-1 will not be done on the Zerg side. All right, he sees the SCVs. What's the response going to be here from Dark? He's trying to kite away back into the triangle third, but ByuN just going to pounce on this position, sieging up between all 4 bases.
Yeah, and he's going to take the Roach Warren out immediately. I don't know that he could survive this, but maybe he overextends down here. Oh my god, the tank lives.
Unbelievable play from ByuN, just moving down to be able to defend those siege tanks, getting maximum value. Now he's going to try and chase down some of these Ravagers, able to pick off 1. These Marines very low on HP,
oh
but
my
the
god, he's going to hold it. He's going to hold it.
It looks like it, but still 30 SCVs back at home, and these Marines getting a lot of damage done. I don't think this is the end of the rush just yet. ByuN still has slightly more army supply. Once these Marines heal back up, my question is, will the reinforcing army from ByuN finally be enough? Because right now, Dark, he is at 48 drones, but I don't think he has the exact read on the situation. He built a couple more drones after that attack. There still is no Roach Warren.
Well, there's no, well, you know, if he sends SCVs again, it's going to really limit how much more he can produce. I mean, he will have some mules, but I think a major SCV pool, we're a little bit out of range of that. Dark has already risen up to 52 workers. He lost a lot in that last attack, but he's still in a very healthy spot. He's going to do it again.
And he's still droning. Dark is still building drones. The Roach Warren just now about to complete. Upgrades are going to equalize at 1-1 on both sides. Some Marauders entering the fray.
So this means, you know, it has to work. He's got 9 roaches started now as the Roach Warren is done. He sees the SCV, so he knows what kind of fight this is. This is all going to come down to, can he hold this next attack off? It's not going to be a tug of war, but instead he has to try to smash this as quick as possible.
Oh, ByuN is able to isolate the Ravagers on the right side. Now moving back in, trying to find the Queens. Dark would love to throw down some biles on those siege tanks, but ByuN is doing a great job just kind of zoning them away.
Oh, he's got the Ravagers now in between the reinforcement line. He's actually going to fire some biles over on that tank. The final one goes down and takes it up. So many Ravagers fall.
Yeah, fighting off creep with concussive shell. ByuN able to take a very good trade.
Oh my god, these rally points are brutal. He's starting to take down more roaches that are spawning there at the 3 o'clock base. The push into the main does go down, and it looks like actually maybe ByuN's got enough. The attack here from behind, though, Dark's going to try to close that out. The medevac still with a healthy amount of energy in there.
Marines now finding the Roaches on the front line. ByuN is trying to clear up these reinforcements here in the back. Just a handful of Ravagers and Roaches. Army supplies dead even at 40 apiece, but Dark still has 60 drones. 10 more Roaches in production. You got to think those reinforcements, they might be enough to finally stop this push.
Yeah, still plenty of energy. A pickup. Wait, is he going to go into the main?
Looks like he's going into the main.
Yeah, he's going to try to come up here. Any targets he can get. The damaged Marines are going to unload. Some of them will be healed up. They stim, they dive in. They're so low on HP that they can be one-shotted by these Roaches. They pick up again.
I think Dark might have finally stabilized.
I think so. Dark is just so godlike.
Wow. This game really hanging on a knife's edge, but Dark finally, for the first time in a long time, taking a substantial lead in Army with 60 workers to 19 SCVs. And Roaches really are kind of the perfect unit in this situation against just Marines.
And now we're going to have, I think, the death rattle here of ByuN. I don't see any real opportunities where he can do this. And you know the Terran's losing when they're picking up more and more in these fights. When the Zerg actually gets his army down there, he can't really hold his ground, so they have to scoop up and leave. There it is, GG. A really exciting game. Dark does win it, but it was hard to tell until the last couple seconds of that.
Yeah, wow.
And I mean, ByuN is so scary, but Dark is very good at kind of keeping his army and his position very elastic. He backs up away from whatever is the stronger side of the army while coming into the weaker side. A lot of times killing off those tanks in siege mode, wiping them out and then pulling back away, buying time, occasionally sending Ravagers and Lings to kill off Zerglings. Kill off Marines that are rallied up. And, I mean, I got to say, ByuN looked terrifying, but Dark, I could not be more impressed with.
Yeah, that was a solid hole. We talk about his resilience, and he's really demonstrating it here in the first map of the winner set in Group C. Getting ready to move on to hard lead for map number 2. ByuN still seems to be in good spirits. He's smiling after that one. He knows how close he was to victory. And I'm wondering exactly what he's going to bring to the table here in this next map. Is it going to be more of a macro game? He's going to try and come up with something crazy again, like a 3-Rax Reaper or an SCV pull.
Well, he's loving his 2-base stuff. He doesn't know about the 3rd command center. He's not privy to that yet.
He hasn't figured it out.
All right, guys, we're going to go to hard lead here. Map 2, let's go.
DKC Gaming Dark. Shopify Rebellion ByuN.
So this looks like it could be that double Rax at the entrance. We don't know for sure, but I mean, the depot's already out there, right?
Yeah, I think almost definitely it will be. ByuN, the pioneer of this build, popularizing it at the start of this year in GSL Season 1, and then...
It's funny. It's a very basic build.
Yeah.
Like but the way he does it, he just really understands the limitations the Zerg has, and where to go, where to punish.
And I remember when we were first casting this build in GSL, we were wondering, how does this possibly hold a push that comes out with Ravagers or a Baneling bust or something with your main infrastructure there at the front?
Yeah.
Especially sometimes he will do this when he spawns on the top side and the add-ons are exposed.
Right.
To the push. And we've seen Zergs in GSL try to break ByuN. We've also seen Zergs in online cups try to break ByuN when he goes for these builds. And his win rate in those situations is remarkably high. He just knows exactly how to thread the needle in terms of defense.
Well, I think he has such good control of his opponent. I think that's the issue, is you never really get to a moment from the Zerg's perspective where it's your turn to attack, right? He just comes out on the, it's always the threat of the Reapers, and then the Marines come in so fast after that.
It's just a solid opening. And I love the way it plays out, too. I mean, the pressure that he's able to levy on the 3rd hatchery of Zerg. How many times have we seen him cancel a 3rd hatch? We just saw it in map number 1 against Dark with the Reaper opening. And even if that was just a 2-Rax Reaper opening and not the 3rd, I think he still gets that cancel. On a lot of maps, that 3rd expansion is quite a far way to walk off creep with Queens. And with grenade usage, if you have excellent control the same way that ByuN does, oftentimes you're able to delay or possibly even cancel that third base, and it's always got to be in the back of the Zerg's minds when they see the first Reaper coming out, especially against a player like ByuN, is how many Reapers is it going to be? Is it going to be a committed 2 Rax Reaper? Is it going to be 3 Rax Reaper like we saw in map number 1? Or, as it's happening in this game, is ByuN going to quickly add in 2 add-ons and try to go for an entirely different setup?
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of different variations to this build. It's why ByuN gets this opening where he has some amount of control, but he can immediately steer the game into a different direction. Now, there was not a commitment to Reapers here. He's already got Marines in sets of 3 coming out. I don't think the Reapers alone will even be able to deny or threaten the hatchery here up at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, instead it's going to be a third barracks coming in from ByuN, and this is a little bit reminiscent of some of the TVZs we saw him play earlier in the year. As, you know, sometimes you just go for a ton of Marines with stim, with combat shields, and delay that tech up into factories, into starports, and you just move out and try to execute a timing with a gigantic ball of Marines. And sometimes it wins the game outright, sometimes it doesn't. But oftentimes, even in the games where it doesn't end the game, you're able to find enough damage that once those first 2 medevacs pop out, you know, a minute or so later, you're able to get right back into the swing of things in a really aggressive position. So
I think that he's basically scouted that this isn't as many Reapers as before. I think he should know, just seeing like the few Reapers that are there, and it's like, oh, really? You don't have any Marines? No?
I think ByuN not going for the damage on the third hatchery is the really big tell. Because, you know, any situation where you have 3+ Reapers coming out of those first 2 barracks, I feel like you have to try and just get the damage done on the hatch.
I think you're probably right about that. So this would probably involve an SCV pull as well here.
It could, the way that Maru did, but it also might not, because this is with stim and combat shields. I think it just really depends on how ByuN wants to play this. And now actually seeing the factory going down makes me think that this is just going to be really heavy pressure into later medevacs.
Yeah, this is very cool to see.
Yeah, I like this build a lot. This is one of my favorite Terran builds in this matchup for sure.
And he's setting this all out over here. We'll see which location he decides to make the target of his attack.
Engineering bay and factory in production back at home for ByuN. Dark right now sitting on 53 drones, making a lot of roaches, and we'll see what damage ByuN is able to get done with this. He does have stim and combat shields, but with no medevacs, the timing of the stim is very important. You want to make sure that you're able to take out some high-value targets with these Marines, because if you have to stim twice, that's more than half your army supply gone, and he's going to stim forward, pick off 2 queens, kite a little bit back.
Look at how he runs with those roaches on that one side there, while still chipping away at the Marines on the other side. Now he's going to have this kind of a weird disjointed fight here. He's not on creep. The stutter stepping is going to go right up through the mineral patches, but he only gets 3 workers. So, I mean,
I kind of like it, though. I don't think it's that bad overall. He's going to be able to get home with a good number of these Marines. They will eventually get regenerated. That starport is almost completed, and he killed, what, I think like 4 queens, as you said, 3 or 4 drones, a handful of roaches. And keep in mind, that's also a stage in the game where Dark had to respond to this. He could not be droning up, so the macro of the Zerg is largely in check, and it probably didn't go as well as ByuN was hoping, but even look at the resource loss tab, and that was a plus 600 resource differential for ByuN. I think about half of the Marines are going to make it home. And now the follow-up push with 2 medevacs has some real potential to get damage done.
Now, it's a funny thing. It's subtle, but it's worth pointing out. You know, when you do those moves where you have no medevacs, you only have so many stims in the Marines.
Yeah.
So really what you do is almost like this formation where you stim through and then back out. So it was pretty beautifully done. Getting the kills, we'll see how impactful it was when the next push comes. That's always the easiest way to evaluate how well the push before it did, is like how easy or hard is this for the Zerg to stop. And this time around, he's going to be picking up. There are some damaged Marines in there, so they're not going to be that safe right upon dropping. And honestly, Dark's just like completely ready for this.
Yeah, Dark seems to know. So deflects his push with a lot of ease, but we're working towards a timing where ByuN is going to have +1 infantry weapons quite quickly behind all of this, and the bio ball is getting very large. So I'm liking the push potential here for ByuN should he choose to get a little bit more aggressive, but you know, this isn't an all-in. This isn't quite as committed as some of the builds we've seen from ByuN in the past. He does have that 3rd command center now flying down into the triangle there to take that base. Only 7 workers behind the Zerg too.
Yeah.
So really, economically, Dark, you know, he hasn't taken too much damage. He's pulling.
Nidus.
Oh, there's a Nidus. A Nidus. Oh, that's an interesting play. I would not have. I would not be imagining this.
He does Nidus a lot, but yeah, this doesn't look like a game where you go, oh, obviously a Nidus. But I guess he knows that, okay, if ByuN takes now a third base, well, he's definitely probably not going to take a fourth right away. He's probably going to try to push me.
Oh. It's a clutch depot timing right there. Love that for ByuN.
Yeah, whenever you see that, you know, something looming outside your base like that, you got to wonder, oh, are you going to try to, like, you know, do something sneaky to me?
He might have seen the Overseer in its, you know, stationary position too. So ByuN is certainly has it on his mind that there's a push coming in.
Here we go. How quickly? Now he's basically running around on the outside here.
I don't think he's
to
noticed.
Draw the screen away. When you see the SCVs pulled, you know, oh, this is going to be no problem here. And the Nidus is actually going to finish.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
that's a problem. That's a lot of roaches and queens coming out. Oh, the engineering bay and the armory are here as well.
Yeah.
There's still this push at the front.
Well, he's going to be able to overpower this. Oh, what? Oh, it's an escape Nidus, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
As we always see.
That Nidus is to get those units out of there before they get surrounded.
Zerg players complain about recall.
Yeah. You guys have escape Niduses.
All right, well, this push getting a lot of damage done in the main base. 9 SCVs going down. The armory and the second engineering bay both taken out. And ByuN has to retreat a lot of forces back into the main base. Luckily, there isn't too much more coming into the third, but still.
God, all the SCVs die almost immediately. And, you know, the moment that you think this isn't going your way, you do exactly what we see right here. And almost all the units get away.
Yeah.
And, you know, back at home, we have Dark onto 4 bases. Production looking pretty good. And really the loss there for the Terran was in the workers. That's going to take a while to recover. Yes, Terran has mules, but this hurts. Is there an Overseer around the main still? There's not, right?
No.
Okay, so, because, you know, when you kill that much of the main with the Nidus, it's actually even easier to get the second Nidus up because you don't have that much vision. A lot of the depots that are remaining are actually outside on the periphery of your base. Is used as a wall in here, so.
That's why ByuN is parking these units here at the top side.
Yeah. Now, I think Dark just wants to max out again and basically rinse and repeat. I think he's got enough Ravagers, if he morphs some more here, that he can kind of shove in with the lower amount of units that Terran has. Corrosive bile down the remaining tanks and then dislodge this position.
Yeah, he is building an army that is could be in a prime position to attack, and ByuN knows it too. He's throwing down a sensor tower to have a better read on where this circuit's going to be attacking from. See Dark on the minimap, looks to be setting for a flank. The top right side and the top left. Oh man,
this position's really bad. He's going to be hitting from both of these different sides.
And now that siege tanks, they are in siege. It's going to be very hard for them to get into a defensive position here, and Dark knows it, so he's just pushing the front. Oh, the Biles almost taking it down.
Almost kills the command center. Well, he'll get that with the next shot if he wants, or he can try to take on the tanks. I think this is a lot of different ways you can end this game right now here as Dark. And it looks like he's just going to try to peg the remaining tanks. It looks like one of the Biles actually misses here. So ByuN should be able to fight back here, stay in this game a little bit longer, but if you see in the production tab, there's 26 roaches hatching.
Yeah, I think the economic damage from the Nidus was just too much.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, ByuN before that was only a handful of SCVs behind Dark and workers, and since that point, it's been a 30 or 40 worker gap. And so Dark, even though he's taking these trades relatively cost inefficiently, I mean, he can just fully swarm right now with Roachling Ravager. Even centrifugal hooks coming in, +2 armors about to complete.
I mean, the cracks are starting to show, right? The foundation's about to be broken open here. Gets the tank inside the medevac. GG. That's going to be a 2-0. Dark escapes this group, easy peasy. And, well, that leaves ByuN here to face the winner of DRG versus Astrea.
Really a great set of games there from Dark, from defending that push in game number 1 and then going for kind of an unintuitive Nidus attack in game 2, just completely manhandling ByuN. Love to see it. First player to advance for this group. He was the favorite coming in, and he's going to be a player to watch out for in the round of 8. I would not be surprised to see Dark make his way all the way to the finals.
It's crazy to see how good ByuN is at what he's doing, and it still doesn't work against Dark. We've got an interview now that'll be translated by Andy. He's back at the studio, and we'll see how Dark is feeling now that he's moving on to the round of 8.
Wow, what a magnificent performance today, Dark. Congratulations on your win today. Thank you. So recently you've lost a lot of games against ByuN. So how do you feel advancing today? Honestly speaking, I don't know when I lost to him. But today, I think I really taught him that the online matches and the offline matches are different. So you know, it feels like I've shown him, I've taught him a lesson today. So in Group A, Maru was eliminated. So what went through your mind when you saw the results? Well, I felt like Maru really couldn't play to his normal capacity that day. It is quite unfortunate, but I'd like Hero to be eliminated in Group D as well. So are you fine playing against Gumio and Su and all the other formidable players? So you're currently anticipating that Hero is going to make it out of Group D. So what are your predictions for that group? Well, I feel like Gumio is playing really well these days, so I think he's going to make it out. So Hero, if you're not gonna get out of the group as the first place, you might as well just get eliminated in Group D. So you know, you've shown some meticulous strategies today, and you went for the Baneliness and you went for the quick expansion to overwhelm your opponent. Although you did lose that game, Su, DRG was very aggressive. As for the fast expansion, it's something. It's a strategy that I worked out beforehand. So I think I did start on the back foot in that game against DRG that I lost. I think I'm gonna have to go home and watch the VOD. And today, ByuN showed a lot of aggression. And was there no variable in that match against ByuN? Actually, there was no variable whatsoever. I had 100% confidence I would win against him. In online matches, I did lose to ByuN quite a few times, but in offline matches, I have full confidence. And you know, ByuN did show some good strategies today. So were you caught off guard at any time today? No, not really. I was fully confident. So now you make it to the next round. So any closing thoughts and any thing you want to say to the fans? Well, this is an offline match in a long time, so I'm quite nervous. But offline matches are definitely a lot more entertaining than the online matches for sure. And this is the last season for GSL this year. So I really want to thank my fans for coming here to the venue, and for the online viewers, thank you.
All right. Great to hear from Dark, feeling very confident in that match, and I think for good reason. He looked to be in very top form today. After that first loss against Dongdaegu, he was firing on all cylinders.
It was a really impressive showing from him overall. Again, he might just take this whole GSL, especially with Maru out of the picture. ByuN, I'm very, very blown away by. He looks really, really good. It's almost eerie that Dark's actually able to hang on versus that and shut that down. Really amazing stuff. And ByuN kind of sticking with that aggro 2-base style that we've seen so much of, obviously in Game 3, trying something different when it didn't work at all against Dark. Coming up next, we're going to go to the elimination match, and we'll be casting that for you right after this break. Stay tuned.
Anytime, any place. Anytime, any place. Anybody, it don't matter. Anywhere, any day. Anytime, any place. Anytime, any place. Where you at? Anybody, it don't matter. Any day. Anytime, any place. Yeah, you know. Anybody, I'm right here. Any day.
it's right. We're not hiding our feelings. When we're in it, we're in it. I know, it's right.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
청량한 이 순간 칠성사이다로부터. 칠성사이다. 똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로. 청량한 이 순간 칠성사이다로부터. 칠성사이다.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
챙겨주는 사람이어가지고 선비기 쓸수 있고 그냥 뚝딱뚝딱 정리하고 그냥 아무 말 없이 떠날 것 같은데.
게임으로 리더의 바탕이 안 맞는데.
게임하는 게 좋아 안 들어가지고 게임도 똑바로 했으면 좋겠어.
표정도 애들 다 웃고 있는데
인상이 되게 살벌하네요. 착한 척 하면서 상대는 많은 걸 품고 있거든요.
Today's matchup. Dark. DRG. Astrea. ByuN. Round of 16. Group C.
Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live 2023 GSL Season 3.
Welcome back, everybody. Astrea versus DRG is coming up. The loser is out. The winner faces ByuN.
Yeah, it's on the line right now for both these players. Astrea looked a little bit shaky in PVT, but I think that's his weakest matchup right now by far in terms of the games that I've seen from him. In PvZ, Astrea looks to be a lot more potent. He has some really creative builds. I would not be surprised in this best of 3 to see him go Nexus first once, for instance. And he's got quite the range in this matchup, but DRG is a tough opponent. He's very good at hanging on in difficult situations.
Well, let's also not forget that Astrea really got rocked in his series. I mean, that could not have been a shorter match. I felt like I was barely warmed up to the entire matchup PVT before it ended so quickly. So hopefully he's in an okay headspace. I did mention before, Astrea always seems to be pretty relaxed. You know, takes his blows on the chin. But, you know, this is a tough one now. Both DRG and ByuN are looking very strong today. And if Astrea is going to survive to that round of 8 after playing in so many GSLs before, he's going to have to bring the best GSL games, I think, of his entire career here tonight.
Would love to see him start that comeback now. Game 1, hard led. Astrea versus DRG. Getting ready to be loaded up. One of these gamers is going to be eliminated from this group. One will go on to fight against ByuN.
Macherino Esports, Astrea. Club NV, DRG.
Okay, so an immediate probe scout here to deny the drone from planting the hatchery there.
Yeah, perfectly timed too. 46 seconds is usually around the time that Zerg's gonna be trying to throw down that hatchery, the natural expansion, so Astrea gets there a couple of seconds before that. We got Hot 6 on cam.
It was well done there by the camera people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hold on, this is good for branding.
Forget about what that probe's doing.
What is that?
Was it
looked like
I looked at you for a moment, so I don't know what was on the.
It definitely wasn't
sign.
a drawing to me. It was close. I mean, I could kind of see artistically where they were going with it, but it looked like it was a melting Mario turtle.
What?
You know,
I want to go back
in
to Ravada
yeah.
and see this now.
Yeah.
I missed it. So when I glanced at it, it looked like it might be a Carbot Ling, but I'm confused, completely off base. I only had a fraction of a second.
Maybe a melting mutant Carbot one.
Maybe.
Still, though, the sign game this season very much on point, guys.
Yeah, 21 Cybercore coming in for Astrea.
So we saw, you know, the last season that Astrea was playing, and he did a pretty good job of playing some pretty dramatic late game PVZ. Are we going to see that this time around?
He's good at PVZ. I actually like this build that he's going for too. Most Protoss players will go for that 20 assimilator and then, or 20 cybernetic score and then a 21 assimilator, and your gas income is a bit delayed, but Astrea going for the 21 core and then 21 gas gets to kick up that gas income just a little bit faster. And these kind of small things, these minor details make a really big difference in a matchup like PVZ, where, you know, Stargate timing, if you're able to shave off a couple of seconds and get that down faster, as we see Astrea does right here, can pay dividends in terms of getting the drone count under control, because oftentimes in PVZ the game can be won or lost with the early game Stargate harassment. If the Oracles do a massive amount of damage, and it can be very difficult for a Zerg, even of Dongray Goose caliber, to come back from that game. Whereas also if the Oracle harassment completely flounders, if Astrea throws one or two Oracles away, then suddenly he has no scouting, no presence on the map, and it's difficult for him to play the game. So really optimizing as best he can to try to set up for that mid-game harassment.
So he sends the Adept Shade over here. This is going to draw the Queen back. He's not going to be able to get that much done with this, but he's at least keeping DRG a bit honest over here.
Yeah, checking on the drone count too.
Yeah, the Oracle is being cranked out now, and it's been a little bit of a slow start. I mean, it usually is if the Zerg is playing standard and the Protoss is basically rushing into an Oracle. We'll see if it gets any extra damage.
Zergling speed finishing up just now, so that Adept is going to shade back home. Astrea will need that to try and anchor the third base should he decide to go for a rapid expansion. Second Oracle underway.
You basically have that Adept wedged in between a pylon and the Nexus usually.
Yeah, or the mineral lines depending on the base layout.
Sure, yeah, or yeah, between the gas and the mineral even. And just try to control it as best he can. Now, this is a really good interception here by DRG. And look, he gets 2 probes, but it's almost fatal damage there on the Oracle, which means it's hard to ever dive in again like that. Shields are the saving grace of Protoss, but when you overextend past shields, well, then you're just going to eat a lot of damage.
Yeah, so probably the role of that opening Oracle now for Astrea is going to be to hang out back at home. It should be defending any attacks that come into third base. It will be using Stasis Ward to try and stay off any attacks, whereas the second Oracle, the full HP Oracle, should Astrea decide to go in for more harassment like Stasis Wards or trying to pick off a couple of drones at an extractor or go for a scout, will probably be that one, but let's see. This is a GSL match. I know Astrea is hungry for his first map win in a Codes game, so looks like he's willing to play a little bit more risky and use that low HP Oracle to try and get some presence on the map.
And so, Glaives are going to be chrono boosted out here. We've got a couple more gateways coming down. Nothing too dramatic from the Protoss just yet. Just a little bit of control play. We'll see if he can't maybe gun down some more creep tumors somewhere else. He is banking a lot more Adepts, though, in the back. And so what looks like a pretty modest set of movements here from Protoss could throw the Zerg off when the action actually picks up here. We're a little bit over halfway done on that Glaives upgrade. And if DRG cuts too many corners, he could really pay for it.
Yeah, I like using the Oracle Revelation here to just try and get as much damage done on the creep spread as possible. Just trying to force those queens out into using a little bit more energy. And should he commit heavily to this adept attack, that might be 1 or 2 less transfuses that these queens have available once everything gets going. But this is not going to be an all-in. There is the third base behind it. The glaives attack has begun. A robo facility is on the way back at home, but let's see what these glaive adepts are able to get done.
Yeah, there's no Warp Prism here with this. So, like, he's not able to reinforce his position. He's already killed off 2 queens. He's beginning to shade away, although it does seem like DRG's got a lot of damage he can dish out onto these adepts. A couple do manage to escape, and Oracle falls, and I don't know. I mean, I think I would give away some queens.
Yeah.
And some units to just, do what DRG did. You can always remake the queens, right?
I think it's because these builds just did not quite line up for Astrea.
Yeah.
DRG, he cut drones at 50. He's been building roaches and ravagers and lings. And now he has speed overlords coming across the map with a queen drop. So this is going to be a very deadly push, especially losing that early Oracle means that the counterattack potential in the air here for Astrea.
He kills the Overlord.
All
Nothing
right.
gets out. This is huge.
Recalling.
But at the same time, there's so much damage. And he recalls right over here to this battery.
Biles coming in on that battery. Luckily, the one all the way in the back is overcharged. Cannon completing as well. And even though he did snipe the Overlord, this is going to be a tough hold.
And, I mean, I think this might have actually been game had the Overlord been able to drop the 4 queens, but it might still be game regardless. I mean, these Stalkers don't really have anywhere to run.
This Oracle a little bit low on HP on energy right now. Cannot focus down these last couple of Ravagers. They are quartering the Stalkers here on the top side. Last pylon at the third base is in a very precarious position. It will get Bile down. Astrea is going to forfeit this expansion for now, retreating back to the natural. But he's fully walled it, so that Immortal actually cannot join the fray.
Yeah, the Nexus goes down, but I think this is just the beginning. I think he can actually carry this all the way over here to the entrance. There is an Immortal behind this. But the Stalkers, are they going to stay out here? They're going to have to blink back. And keep in mind, the Cybernetics core is right here. He could just as easily, oh my God, the Immortal is going to go down. What? That's not the way it's supposed to go. Astrea's having a very bad GSL here today.
Yeah, this is just not going his way. I mean, the Glaive's opening.
Not even canceled.
Not even canceled. The Glaive's opening was just so flat-footed because of the opening that DRG was going for. He had many more roaches and lings than Astrea was anticipating, and now Astrea is going to try and retake this third expansion, but DRG, although he has a bad rally, he's already managed to close the distance on workers. He cut at 50 for a very long time to make that attack possible.
Oh man, a lot of drones not mining. Well, yeah, that's in the past now, but I do feel like a rinse and repeat here from DRG should be able to close this out. Am I wrong?
Well, he's going for Mutalisks instead, so it's not going to be him just mustering another large army to go and try and shell down that third base. Instead, it seems like this is probably going to be a 1-2 punch where the Mutas go for harassment in the main and the natural. I would expect try and force the Stalkers out of position, force some cannons and batteries to defend those positions, and then maybe a follow-up attack from DRG on the front. But we'll see exactly what he decides to do. Of course, that's only one option. Really, he has a lot of different opportunities at his disposal right now. This is a fantastic position for Zerg to be in.
The Warp Prism's going to try to come up and, just see, can I do anything? Is there anything I can get done over here? But it's just going to be a matter of time before the next attack is inbound here. Those Mutas are now out on the map, and this could fish a lot of the Stalkers away. We do have Disruptors being produced for the time being. You can see there's really no defense over here for these workers, so the Mutas can really go to town on these guys.
Yeah, and DRG is cutting drones back at home too, so he's forcing a response from these Stalkers. I would not be surprised to see Astrea spend the next couple hundred of minerals on some static defense, but maybe he's just going to try and toe the line with these Blink Stalkers, holding off any Muta harassment. As the Muta count, it's not too high. That Warp Prism scouting, more Ravagers morphing in is a pretty good catch for Astrea, but unfortunately he will be losing this Prism.
Yeah, the walls are closing in right now for Astrea. Another attack is about to be mounted. I mean, it's nearly maxed out. A lot of Ravagers being made. I think the Mutas might try to fly right back into the main. I don't know if cannons are actually made over there.
No, Astrea, I think it's actually quite smart how he's delaying this because he knows that he needs all these minerals to try and defend the push that's coming. Instead, it's a ball of Stalkers in the main, but all eyes right now on this push. First Disruptor shot coming in. Pretty good, gets 2 Ravagers. Second one, follow-up good as well, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, and I mean, the Disruptor just disappears. Just like before, the Stalker is trapped in the same area, only this time there's way more Zerg. And I mean, this Nexus is going to fall again. There's no way else to cut it.
I mean, the reinforcements coming in from the main base means the Mutalisks are cleaning up probes in the main.
Oh my
I mean,
God,
it's
that was an insane shot.
Great shot, but
yeah,
the economy.
I mean, it's brutal. Even Vials now connecting on that. Meanwhile, 20 probes have been killed here. So we're at about 35 workers, and that number is going to get even lower here for the Protoss.
Yeah, it's going to be a less than 2 base economy, and DRG against 3 Stalkers is just happy to trade out a couple of Mutas to fully clear that mineral line, and so Astrea really has no economy at this point. Yes, he can credit boost probes out 3 at a time, but losing 36 probes, there's no way he's going to hold this next push.
This whole game has just been a beatdown. Look at that. Roach is trapped in there.
Like a force
prison
field
of his own peers. He'll never be a Ravager. He'll always be a Roach.
Well, Astrea's going to try and get something done here in the middle of the map, but I think at this point, you really have to just start digesting this loss and try and come up with a game plan to bounce back in game number 2, because this was not the opening he was going for. DRG's going to take game number 1, but Astrea, I like him gambling a little bit, going for the Glaive Adepts, but this was truly the worst case scenario. Attacking into a drone that's a Zerg that's cut at 50 drones, going for a Roachling Queen push.
It's a bad build order interaction, and there's no way for him to know what the build that was coming out from DRG was, but you're completely right. A kind of early pressure build intended to kill some workers and maybe cut the Zerg down. Instead, interacts with a full-on Roach Ravager assault where everything gets mowed down, and it makes the actual attack that DRG had planned even easier.
That played into his hand. So Astrea, I mean, the opening, it wasn't too bad for him. I like the way he started off, gambling a little bit with the Glaives, but now here on Oceanborn, the question is, do you go for another gambling play? Do you take a risk? Do you potentially go Nexus first? Or do you just try to play a straight-up macro game? Because DRG, he is certainly capable of some aggressive builds. It's a tough position for Astrea to play from. He has to win these next 2 maps where he is out of Code S.
It's looking very dire right now for Astrea. Let's see if he can recover, or if DRG is going to go up and play against ByuN.
Macherino Esports, Astrea. Club NV, DRG.
Okay, well, we've got that probe out once more. Going across the map. And you can already see for support from New York City. Excellent. Welcome.
Power for Astrea.
Give him all your power, please.
I would love to see a foreign player make it onto the round of 8. It's been a long time, I think.
We've had Scarlet, we've had Special, we've had Astrea, all be regulars in the GSL, but you know, a lot of times they die out pretty early on. You know, we've had different sizes of GSL, right? Like round of 24s or round of 32s, but they tend to not get that deep. So I'm always very eager every GSL we have to see, okay, is this going to be the moment that we might actually see, you know, a deep run? But right now, I mean, I'm trying to keep the dream alive, but man, Astrea is in rough shape.
Yeah, Astrea scouting now. Sees that timing on the extractor. Should know that Zergling speed, but the earliest it can finish up is around 330, 332. Should DRG saturate that quickly. Now, that kind of timing, it could lend itself too early aggression coming out from DARG. It could also just be a really safe play. It could be something like going for a Ling Flood on the third base as Protoss tries to set up the expansion. There's a lot of potential options here for Zerg. Now, it's not the most economic opening here, but Astrea, after coming in with that scout, has to keep these things on his radar because you never know exactly what Zerg is going to throw your way, especially in a situation like this one where DRG really just needs one map win to go up into that final match.
It did seem like in game one it was a bad build order to choose against DRG. DRG has shown that he's very much interested in ending games at specific points in different matchups and not playing that kind of, I guess you could say, the passive reactive style that that Dark is so good at, where Dark is basically watching you and either cutting workers to be safe and making more, or squeezing out more workers to get further ahead. And kind of doing that pattern over and over again until he's just in a position where he can't be killed.
Another Stargate opening coming out from Astrea. This Adept going to shade in. There are 6 Lings on the field, and this Adept doesn't have too much time to play with. So Astrea is going to try and get as much scouting information as he can and then retreat, ideally before Zergling's speed is done. And so far when he's scouting, it seems pretty normal from the Zerg. You know, we just have a handful of Lings there in the main base. There are probably some at the third base just in case the Adept decides to shade that way. Everything looking fairly normal, and then Astrea, of course, very smart player, just moving back with the Adept at the exactly right timing.
Yeah, and we don't know what the big difference in this game is going to be from game one here from Astrea. Whatever the Zerg wants to do will reveal itself a little bit later on, but it looks like he's going to set up for a third base. Astrea's, I feel like in the games we cast of him, much less inclined to do something crazy like we see from Creator. Oh, well, that's one strategy. So this is, how long has this show gone on for? That was 15 years. I've never seen that. That was, I'm like, well, guys, that's it. You can all go home now. The show's over. Oh, never mind. We're back in the game. Okay.
That is not nearly as disastrous as I thought it would be.
That's how I always imagined StarCraft 2 esports would end, would just be abruptly like that with a blank screen. Go,
Microsoft Clippy comes on.
Yeah.
Microsoft Clippy comes on screen. It's like, are you ready for a Windows update?
Yeah. It seems like you're trying to take a third base. Do you need help with that? No. No, Clippy.
Oh. Yeah. All right. Well, we are continuing right where we left off. Oracle comes into the third base. Spore Crawler, no Queen, but Astrea doesn't want to take it too risky there. Just picks off 2 drones and then retreats. There is a second Oracle that was scattered around the natural expansion, trying to find the opening. Astrea behind this, going for Blink from the Twilight Council, so not a Glaive's timing. 2 more gateways. Stalkers being warped in at home, so a very straightforward setup in terms of macro play. And DRG just now starting that lair, and Overlord speed is, I feel like, an auctioneer trying to catch everybody up once we get back into the game. But it looks to be a fairly standard PvZ opening thus far. Neither player really ahead or behind.
So, I think this is looking better right now for Astrea because it's a more passive game overall. He's just getting some Blink Stalkers and kind of focusing on development. Back here on DRG's side of things, he is starting to make a lot of roaches.
Yeah, he's cut drones once again at 49, so.
Now, are we going to just see continuous Stalkers made and that kind of style that Hero made so cool? The roaming Stalkers and Oracles, and you just sort of eke out damage over time until eventually the lead is insurmountable.
I don't think we're going to see quite that style. Astrea right now, I believe he's only on 4 gateways with the screen minimized for a moment. I'm not sure exactly what the setup is, but I do think it is only 4 gateways, and so he's going to be investing a lot of resources into building up other parts of his infrastructure. I see he's getting a Forge now, so he's playing for +1 ground weapons.
Oh, it's the same Queen drop.
Oh, it is the same Queen drop, you're right.
It's even the same 4 Queens from the other game. Oh my God, they're back from the dead. They want revenge. You never dropped us from the Overlord.
Yeah, this is dangerous. There's only 1 battery right now at the third base. I feel like Astrea is scouting this a little bit too late.
Oh,
we'll see if he can get the same snipe on the Overlord.
The Stalkers were fractured from each other. Gonna drop them. Drop them. Not the creep.
Okay,
there we
finally.
go. Come on, man. It's like a constipated Overlord. All right, we got it out.
Well, the overcharge came in on the battery, but it instantly got taken out. And once again, Astrea is going to have to try and forfeit this third base. Blinking back into the natural expansion behind this wall, and he is cleaning up a fair bit of the Zerg's army, but I'm concerned for this position. With 26 more Lings in production, more units getting rallied across the map. Again, there are still only 4 gateways. I love that Astrea right now is building shield batteries in the main base above the third. That's a really smart play from Astrea to try and get out any kind of defensive opportunity here. But with these reinforcements coming in from DRG, is it going to be enough?
Yeah, the Stalkers are over time whittling this down. It's starting to be just Queens, but then a couple more Links come in, and that sort of accelerates the blinking back, which means the Nexus, it's in the orange, now the red, and it looks like, no, wait, he like misclicked.
All right, finally DRG's gonna be able to clean that up. Some drones in production back at home for DRG, but it feels like Astrea is held.
Yeah, also there were Queens that were just kind of beelined across the map, of course, in slow motion.
No, not another Queen dying in an Overlord.
Not again.
Well, you know what? Taking a 4th base like this for Astrea is actually really good. This is another full minute that he's going to be able to mine. He's cleaning up the last Ravager. The Oracles are coming in. DRG's bleeding out a lot of units kind of unnecessarily here, and I feel like I'm liking Astrea's position. Yeah, DRG's going to call it. All right, Astrea gets his first map win in GSL Code S. That's got to be a monkey off his back, and now he is 1 more map win away from going to the final match here in Group C. Love to see that. That was a really stellar hold. You know, that seemed like he was up against the ropes for a long time, but fantastic control with the Blink Stalkers. I love the shield batteries in the main base above the third, just really anchoring that position.
I want to know what the third Queen drop is going to look like.
Yeah, I
want to see the same game again.
I saw the drone cut at 50, and I saw the Roaches and the Lings in production. And I was like, oh, this looks really similar to the last game, but I didn't catch the Overlord speed and the drop Overlord coming through. So it's the exact same build. It was literally a 1 drone difference.
It's funny. It seems like it wouldn't make sense to get the 4th Nexus like up at 12 o'clock if you're being rushed, right? But actually, just the nature of Blink being able to pull away over and over, and the damage begins to stack over time, actually that makes it impossible in that case for the Zerg to kill both Nexuses, or at least it makes it harder. And so in that moment, the swing back was just too strong from Astrea.
I mean, if that was the only base that Astrea had up the third, he didn't take the 4th. Imagine he cancels it during that push.
Yeah.
Then suddenly DRG's attack, although it didn't get everything accomplished that he intended to, at least Astrea is on like a 2.5 base economy effectively, because the main base is starting to mine out for what's going to be another minute or so. And that's going to really slow down the Protoss machine, give DRG an opportunity to potentially come back into the game. But that 4th Nexus is kind of unintuitive as it is to take a 4th expansion at that stage in the game, is really what propelled Astrea to victory, because DRG knew that he was never going to be able to regain the tempo. He did not get enough damage done, and he bled out so many units trying to kill that 3rd Nexus that Astrea would just be able to get incredible value out of the 2 Oracles and the Blink Stalkers on the ground. So really an immaculate defense. I love that from Astrea.
A little bit odd to see DRG go for that same build again.
Yeah.
Maybe showing how confident he really was back there. I'm, of course, joking when I say, like, how is the 3rd Queen drop going to go? But in some ways, it came down to the DRG overextension as much as it was the Astrea defense. Astrea, so far, everything he's trying to do hasn't quite worked, but DRG, he bled out like 3 or 4 extra Queens in that. There was a period where he thought, okay, this is going to be a timing attack, and then he said, no, this is an all-in. I'm sitting my Queens over here, we're going to topple this, and now we're going to go onto our final map here, at least for these two. Remember, ByuN awaits the winner of this match, the loser out of the GSL.
Macherino Esports, Astrea. Club NV, DRG.
Well, it would not be an Astrea game without that probe going across the map to force the hatchery to be at the 3rd base location.
Feels like it wouldn't be a PBZ without that happening at this point. It's so common. That was one of the frustrating things for me when the new map pool got announced. It's like, yeah, I'm excited there's 9 maps. Yes, this is very good, but now I have to find out when to send the probe on every single one, because on some maps, you go for a 14 pylon and you can send the probe and you block it at 46. On some, you can do a 13 pylon and block it at 46. On some, you got to send it instantly. And then on Raduset Station, if you spawn on the top, you can block it at 46. If you spawn on the bottom, you can't. With an Insta-Scout, it's just like, it's too much information, man.
It's one of those funny things, too, because if the pros don't iron all that out early on, we will have one of these moments where things just go really badly at the start of the game because they don't have all those little nuances down. And yeah, every map is different. Every map requires, these different approaches, and knowing, all these little circumstantial things that you have to be ready for here.
Yeah, we kind of take it for granted, just observing the pylon or the probe coming down into the natural expansion to block the hatchery in the majority of PvZ games, but there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of hours spent in customs versus AIs trying to make sure that you had that completely ironed out from the Protoss side of things. But Astrea, of course, one of the best in the business.
So are we going to have Astrea, just try to flow into a third base? Probably.
I think you just play standard here on Hecate. I don't think Astrea should really be gambling too much. In fact, the fact that he didn't go for a Nexus first in this series at all makes me think that he's going to try and play for more of a standard game. And actually a really fast... Oh! It's a one-gas Robo!
Yeah.
This is a farmy build if I've ever seen one. Into the farmy is a Protoss player on the Korean ladder who's been doing Robo all-ins in basically every matchup for like 5 years plus, it feels like. And he's so good at it. I love this opening from Astrea. What a way to mix it up. So throw what I said out of the window. He is not going for a macro play, but this opening at the front of his gate, at the front of his door, it should look very much like a Stargate opening. Notice in Game 1 and Game 2, with that Stargate opening, he went into an Adept and then into a Stalker. In the third game, the timings are the exact same. So from the Zerg perspective, this could very easily be a Stargate. That might be what DRG is thinking here in this match, but actually behind it, there's a Warp Prism being made in production. And following up from that, we're going to have 1 Immortal. I'm imagining 7 Gateways and a completely all-in push.
Yeah, it's a total caveman move, and I love it.
It's so good. And Astrea, as part of the best of 3, this shows some real experience.
Well, this shows a lot of range, right? I was just saying, well, he's probably going to flow into the third base, right? He's been very good at developmental PvZ.
He's even pulled off the gas.
Yeah. Who needs gas, man?
Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Setting the probe over here to the third base.
This is all for looks. He's like, look at me, I want to take a third base. Oh no, my 3-base play.
I love it.
Oh, now I've already lost the game. 9.
That was the most genuine, generally like evil laugh that I've ever heard from you.
Fool.
Yeah, 5 more Gateways in production. It's just going to be this 1 Immortal and a ton of Zealots. All right, when is DRG going to see this? I think that Overlord at the third base, the triangle third, just barely missed it. There's no more Overlords on the path.
Yeah, the Lings got up there. They confirmed that there's nothing up there. Now, this is a rush that the damage has to hit just right. It's not going to be as easy to reinforce, so we really want to watch that Immortal.
Yeah, Baneling's Nest is underway. A lot of Queens already on the field and many more in production, so DRG has a nice response to this already. 39 drones might be a little bit high. He is starting +1 melee attack. I'm a little bit surprised he's investing resources into that because this is a very dangerous push coming in, Tasteless.
All right, he's moving in. He's doing a little bit of body blocking here with the Spore. A little bit of time buying. The Lings are going to wrap all the way around. The Queens are doing a lot of damage. The Warp Prism has to stay alive, by the way.
Yeah, the Warp Prism, you can't be doing any really fancy micro with the Warp Prism in this build. You got to keep it back. It has to stay alive for these Warpins. And now the Zealots really coming in. It's just Lings right now for DRG. Only 3 Banelings morphing. Warp Prism moving a little bit more forward. The Zealots trying to find some surface area, but the Lings actually get a full surround on the Immortal and the 2 Stalkers.
I just don't think there's enough. Another round of Zealots are warped in, but Banelings know what to do there.
Oh, he canceled it. He canceled the warp in.
Oh, that was crazy.
I like that play there from Astrea, but this push, it's all about tempo.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You need to have a couple more warping rounds come in. He could kill these Banes before they actually finish. The Lings are going to body block, though. The Immortal is so low. I think this game is done.
Yeah, the surround on the Immortal just out of range. Pro production is resumed here for Astrea as DRG just had the perfect response. So Astrea, he's going to try and find a way to work out of this one, but DRG with some really good control, just able to shut this down.
That was, that's too bad. It's a very wonky rush, but you could see DRG knew what to do. Even with the Spore, like buying time, just a couple of extra seconds and you're probably going to be okay. There's an Overlord now moving up into the main just to see, like, okay, where is the tech exactly where I think it is? Yes. As in, you know, he has not teched out of this at all.
DRG even had the confidence to not cancel melee attack during all that. He
yeah,
just
that
didn't
was really
need...
impressive. I thought you were spot on when you said, well, it's probably better to just, you know, cancel that. And then
he could have gotten 4 more banelings, but instead he's just full on committing.
It's like, or I could have made the longer part of the game the easier part.
True, yeah.
Hey, this guy knows how to invest in the future. More units fall on the map. The Warp Prism, I mean, it's just being met with more and more queens. And now even these Adepts, you know, they can't do anything here. So they're going to be killed off.
Yeah, a couple of drones, but...
You know, I was joking earlier about the possibility of, you know, this game looking similar. I think it might end in a similar fashion of just, you know, DRG plowing through and closing this out.
Yeah, DRG just full sending it right now, I think is a really smart play. He hasn't made, I think he's made maybe 1 drone since that push. Instead, he's going to full commit to the Baneling bus with +1 attack. These Zealots should get cleaned up by the Banelings. Actually, one of them able to survive, so he's going to help with the defense a little bit here. Astrea, if he wants to win this game, I love the overcharge, by the way, on the Cybernetics core.
It's actually kind of funny. He basically has these Zealots like as body blockers for the pylons so that it can't be unpowered. And
you know, wait a moment. DRG, he doesn't actually have enough gas to double down on the Baneling bus, so he's going to go up to Lair Tech back at home.
So this game's probably going to go on.
Yeah, he's making roaches. He made a couple more. He made another round of drones. So, man, that one Zealot staying alive against those Banelings, busting down the middle, it might have actually just saved the game here for Astrea. It was so close.
Well, you know, maybe the counterattack got a little bit too ambitious. He does need to destroy this pylon to get the rest of his army out. Obviously, there's a backup pylon over there. And so, you know, what kind of game will this be when he's able to be out on the map? Protoss needs a third base. You need a third base or you need to have, like, another attack coming up here. Both are pretty hard to pull off. Anything you do on 2 bases when it backfires, it's so punishing. So he sees the Nexus is coming there. A lot more Lings, Ravagers this time. And
yeah.
I think he just is going to force a cancel, right?
I don't think there's a way Astrea can hold on to that third base. Not with DRG's economy as kind of bare bones as it is. He's committing so much to this attack. Now, Astrea, he is working on getting +1 ground weapons. He's researching charge. He's starting to bank a little bit of gas for that Templar Archive so he can warp in some Archons, which should do great against the heavy Ling composition, but there's already 100 Lings on the map.
Yeah, DRG just looks at that and goes, well, you don't have a third base still. Oh my god, it gets away.
7 HP.
Crazy.
Baneling speed and Roach speed both coming in now for DRG. I gotta say, the way that DRG's macroing out of this is so clever. I mean, he's just in a commanding position, so he's making these huge rounds of units like these Lings, Banelings, Roaches, and Ravagers, making sure that Astrea can't take a third base, and then he goes heavily back into the drones. Just kind of oscillating between both macro economically and macro in terms of army, and oh man.
Yeah, and this leaves a lot of units on the outside.
Immortal especially.
And he can actually spill through because, you know, the Warpin, he's actually gonna bust it down once more. The Warpin unlocks the entrance. The Cybernetics core is gonna go down, so no more Stalkers or Sentries.
That's the last force field.
Yeah.
And by the way, no Archons morphing in. Instead, Astrea is in fact going for Storm with this. He has 3 Templar alive right now. You can see that main base already halfway mined out.
Good surrounds here on these Adepts, just not making a dent over here. Psystorm's gonna finish.
I gotta give credit to Astrea, by the way. I mean, this is looking like a very bad position, but it is near impossible to transition out of a no gas all-in like this one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a very, very desperate build. And once you stop it, it's very hard to get anywhere in the game. Another probe goes down. No third base yet here for Astrea.
The army for DRG is almost pure Ling, by the way. We have about 80 Lings in total on the field. Storm is done. The Roaches and Ravager count, it's quite low. You can see DRG starting to pump out more Roaches now that he sees the Storm tech coming through. But Astrea's army, I mean, I'm not gonna say that he's in a fantastic position, but given the hand that he's been dealt, I think his army is about the best you could possibly hope for against what DRG has.
Yeah, I mean, he's putting up a really good fight.
Okay, that Warp Prism just barely out of range from these queens. Third base, Astrea is really struggling to get it online.
And eventually, if this third base doesn't finish warping in, the game will end. Astrea will just run out of money. Oh my god.
Barely blocking those links, getting the full surround. And now DRG is going to try and come in on both sides. Links attacking the right side. No Templar there for Storm. Astrea focusing most of his energy right now on the left side of the map. Big storms on the Banelings or on the Lings and also on the Roaches and Ravagers. That's a ton of damage coming through, actually.
It looks like some of the army is able to wiggle out, and now these Archons are morphing. 2 Immortals stay alive.
What an insane engagement for Astrea. Astrea was down so much army supply, and now DRG actually bleeding out these Roaches and Ravagers. He thought he sent everything home, and look at the supplies. Astrea was almost doubled in terms of total supply, and somehow with that hold, he gets 4 of the most clutch possible storms. 2 on the Roaches and Ravagers, 2 on the Lings.
This is crazy.
He might be able to try and macro out of this. Now, the follow-up attack is coming from DRG.
I don't know how many more storms he's got pocketed. There's a lot more Ravagers. There's a lot more Banes coming up here.
+2 ground weapons almost done. 4 Templars still on the field. I'm very curious about how much energy they have. But the ground army, it's very sparse here for Astrea. What you see on the field right now, that's what you get. The control basically has to be perfect, and I don't think there's a sentry here. So no force fields.
Yeah, he baits out 1 storm. Again, a lot of Ravagers available right now.
Oh
the
my
Zealots are going to
goodness.
come down onto this hatchery. I think there's enough Lings and Roaches that he can probably clean this up.
He will, but this is buying Astrea time.
Yep.
DRG brought everything back. I mean, those are +2 Zealots, so they're just going to absolutely chop through these Lings. And now DRG kind of like doing the greedy thing and sectioning off some Banelings and trying to send them into the mineral line. The third, no, Astrea's just going to park his army right there. Banelings are not going to get in, and I can't believe this game is continuing on. Astrea is putting up such a good fight.
It's insane, man. It looked like it was so done earlier.
It was so done.
By the way, this Warp Prism has gotten so much value. It's basically keeping that third base alive for long enough. Now, DRG is trying to carve open a larger entrance point here so we can really get in and not be so punished by storms. We got a lot of Banes being made here. The 4 Zealots, actually 3 are going to come down onto the gold base. There's a 4th one that's fractioned off and is going to go down to the other base down here at the bottom.
And Astrea, he's taking the 4th expansion. I'm liking this setup for him more and more. He has 7 Templar right now, high on energy. It is hard to attack into this position, but DRG is just setting up for this Banelings. Oh, Storm's coming through, really tearing through those Banelings, and he has more where that came from.
He's got a really healthy army here, Astrea does. He's going to try to come back and chase this out. Good block there on the entrance.
DRG has made so many plays with Banelings to try and connect with probes in the third base and the natural. He's gone for it maybe 3 or 4 separate times. He hasn't been able to connect even once, I think. So Astrea, his defense has been immaculate. And now look at the army supply, 75 to 108. Let's not forget that Astrea had 7 Templars, now 9 Templars on the field. And some of those Templars, even after that last engagement, very high in energy. I see multiple Templars with 2 storms each on him right now. So Astrea, will he be able to continue to hang on? It feels like this is a bit of a misread.
Yeah, well, this is the problem when you take that 4th base that far out. Looks like he's able to kill that. He's also able to open up the entrance, which allows for counterattacks later on. You know, DRG was so close to actually winning the game, but it's a funny situation where you can maybe be a little bit too cavalier about your advantage, and then, you know, a player as tenacious as Astrea can just hang on. And then as the game gets on, you go, wait a minute, he's getting a 3rd base up. He's getting a 4th base up. I was supposed to win this a while ago.
I mean, after the all-in, DRG basically just said, I'm going to kill you with a Ling Baneling counterattack, and it did not work, and Astrea was able to macro out of it. Now, I don't know if Astrea is going to try and take that 4th base again. He might just hard commit with the army he's got. But I feel like the army Astrea has, it's very good at defending. It's not quite as good at attacking into a position like this one. Those Biles coming in, getting some damage done on Templar, but the storms are huge, Tasteless.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the first moment that Astrea could try to break out on the map, and the counterattack just blows up in his face. And speaking of which, the Link counterattack here from DRG is just doing far too well. Bailing's connecting on Immortals, not usually okay, but in a game like this, it seems like it's going to be one of the few final moments here for Astrea. He's lost control of his fourth. He does have, his third actually. He's going to push even further forward here. I think we may just see Astrea tap out.
Yeah, I mean, the counterattack just wasn't it. Astrea's army, although it can defend off creep back at home with batteries, cannot move out. DRG is going to advance to face ByuN in the final match of Group C, but man, Astrea putting on a show after a failed all-in. He almost was able to claw his way back into that one. And if you're watching at home and you were ever doubting Astrea when he comes into GSLs like this one, keep that game in your memory, because the tenacity that he showed, how well he was able to force a long macro game. You can even see DRG, he's not super happy with that game.
Well, no, it's a concerning game. He even shaking his head there for a second. He's like, whoa, that was close.
He almost lost. That was a dangerous position that Astrea was able to fight his way into.
I don't know about you, but I think a lot of us watching that were kind of over that game after the Immortal got killed. In the initial push, you're like, oh, yeah, that's too bad. And then we're like, oh, he's going to try to play this out. Okay. And then he hangs on for that long. Anyways, guys, the final match, DRG versus ByuN, is coming up after this short break. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
toes, 'cause I can't go. You never talked about it, said you had to leave. It was over within minutes and I couldn't speak. Like that you're gone, something went wrong. Choked up, you made me feel so small. Now I just need an answer. Why'd you have to go? No, I can't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause I can't
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
하늘은 우리 향해 올려 있어. 그리고 내게
청량한 이 순간 칠성사이다로부터.
함께 서 있는 그 너는 푸른
칠성사이다. 똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
하늘은 우리 향해 올려 있어. 그리고 내게
청량한 이 순간 칠성사이다로부터.
함께 서 있는 그 너는 푸른
칠성사이다.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
챙겨주는 사람이어가지고 선비기 킬도 있고 그냥 뚝딱뚝딱 정리하고 그냥 아무 말 없이 떠날 것 같은.
친구 리더의 바탕이 안 맞는데.
게임하는 게 좋아 안 들어가지고 게임도 똑바로 했으면 좋겠어.
저 정도 애들 다 웃고 있는데
인상이 그렇게 해보라고요. 착한 척 하면서 상대는 많은 걸 참고 있거든요.
Today's matchup. Dark. DRG. Astrea. ByuN. Round of 16. Group C.
Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live 2023 GSL Season 3.
And we're back. DRG versus ByuN is how we're going to close the evening out. Look, Astrea put up a great fight. He does seem to be in pretty good shape, but he was not able to deliver in what I think was a pretty hard group, to be honest. A lot of great players here in Group C. Now we go to DRG versus ByuN. ByuN has looked really scary. Like, I know he got 2-0'd by Dark, but man, did it look like he had some plans for this matchup. And I want to see how similar these ByuN games are that he had versus Dark to the ones that he's going to have now versus DRG.
Yeah, ByuN looks to be playing some explosive TBZ styles, kind of going back to his roots. I was wondering if we would see him incorporate the new Cyclone a little bit more in TBZ, but I guess ByuN just not really jiving with that unit right now. Kind of opting for his classic 2 barracks on the low ground, maybe occasionally mixing it up with a 3rd barracks for Reapers or a 3rd barracks for a Marine pumping. And yeah, as you said, you know, the games didn't go particularly well against Dark, but I love the openings that he went for. I feel like you put them up against a lesser Zerg, and you're probably going to be walking away with a win. So very curious to see how his style is going to match up against DRG.
Look at ByuN. It looks like he's really thinking about what he's going to do in that game. I mean, he knows that DRG saw the way he plays, so it's not like you can just be like, well, I'm going to do another pressure attack build, but maybe you can.
Maybe he's wondering when he should proxy T-Rex this game.
Yeah.
At what point do I throw down 3 barracks in the middle of the map?
Could be. And we're actually ready to go into this game right now, guys. This is the final best of 3 of Group C. Let's do it.
Club NV DRG.
It rhymes.
Shopify Rebellion ByuN.
Let's see if ByuN gets this wall in right. Do you remember when we watched Mario play and the Lings just went past the reactor in the supply depot here on the low ground? Alcyoni's a hard map to wall on the natural on. I gotta say, it feels a little bit funky. I think it's like 1 tile smaller than it usually is, and it's kind of far forward. And even when I'm playing my ladder games, okay, yeah, he knows. Head-on's gonna go right there.
So he got 2 gases. So
sorry, wait, say again. Oh, ByuN has 2 gases, you're right.
Got 2 gases. So he's not doing his normal 2 racks wall in style of play.
Oh, interesting.
Now Zerg did not send a drone out or anything, so he's not going to see the 1 racks just yet. But I think that if there's one style of play that is more associated with a player than anything else, it would be ByuN's 2 racks versus Zerg. So
I love this.
This is cool. And so he's got a factory at the very the top part of the map above where the Zerg is. ByuN is making Marines, and I would imagine we're going to have a starport made after that factory over there.
Yeah, you might think it's going to be a starport, but a second factory. This is a Cyclone all-in.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure this is a Cyclone all-in coming in.
Oh, I really like this.
Oh, and that looks like it's the first factory, too. It looks like it's a slow gas build.
Yeah.
With barracks into a factory on the low ground. Oh, ByuN is so smart. This is going to be a lot of fun.
You know, I got to go back. When we saw ByuN sitting in the chair, it
was
looked
thinking.
like he was really like, okay, what do I do?
I'm going to build Cyclones.
Yeah, he went, yeah,
he's browsing StarCraft Reddit, reading the thread with his hand on his chin.
They seem to think this is unstoppable.
Oh, is this double reactor? I think the factory at the top left, I think it's going to be double reactor Cyclone. Oh, this could be crazy.
Quad clones.
I wonder if you can actually support that many Cyclones, or are you also going to be mixing in Hellions with us? I'm very curious. Could double Cyclone here?
Yeah, that's a good point. You probably could do double Hellion if you wanted to.
I haven't seen this exact build. DRG pushing forward. Again, he might think that this is the first factory. He doesn't have an Overlord confirming the scout either in the main base or the natural. Yeah, it's going to be double factory reactor Cyclone. 4 Cyclones about to pop. Drones in production right now for DRG.
Oh my God.
Oh, is he
He's
going to spot
it? Does he go left or does he go down?
Oh
no!
My God! Let's go! And the SCVs are getting pulled for repair too. Okay, this is crazy. If DRG doesn't start Lings right now,
dude, ByuN has all the builds.
This is wild. And that Overlord's going to die. All right, he's at 51 of 66, so he should still be able to produce units. But DRG right now on 3 hatches. This is the first time he's making Lings after that initial swarm. Cyclone's locking onto the Queens. But with the repair, they have a lot of staying power here.
Yeah, the Lings are going to come out. They need to get in the way. The Micro's looking pretty good.
Oh, the repair!
Oh, no.
This is getting out of hand really quick, Tasteless.
So funny watching these SCVs ring around these Cyclones.
Yeah.
And this might be the point of critical mass here. where it's like there's just enough. The first Cyclone falls, but there's 4 more in the mail.
Yeah, and there's only one Cyclone of all these falling. DRG losing drones, losing Overlords. I think the 3rd Overlord is about to fall. Oh man, drones getting pulled. Drones do not counter Cyclones.
This one's for you, Reddit. This is
wow.
Finally getting your red meat over here.
What a build.
This is pretty sick. He's going to take down these Lings.
How many more are in production? Because a lot of
That's
these are low. Not enough.
Done. ByuN wins.
You guys on Reddit thought that you were having a hard time with Cyclone builds in ZVT already.
Yeah, well,
Wait until this one hits the ladder.
What if you make 4 of them? Huh? How about that?
Wait until this one hits the ladder.
You bunch of scientists. How are we going to do that? What if you just only make them? What about that? What do you mean? Like 2 out of 2 barracks? Try 4 out of 2.
Oh, that's so cool. That's fun.
Well, yeah, that's an annoying way to lose. I can tell you what, DRG's like, this is just quite the group. The builds this guy's having to deal with.
I gotta say, DRG is not having a good time right now. Yes, he just beat Astrea, but remember that game 3, he was not happy with the way that one went. He was shaking his head.
Also, he almost beat Dark too. I mean, this is like he's going through the ringer right now. All right, now what if he made 3 factories? It made 5 Cyclones because he didn't get a reactor on one. Yes.
I would be surprised if we see a Cyclone opening like that one again.
No, he's just going to do the game he did in build 1 versus...
he's going to go to 3 barracks. Yeah, maybe.
It's like right back to 3 racks Reaper. All right, guys, game 2. Let's do this. DRG versus ByuN continues on.
Club NV DRG. Shopify Rebellion ByuN.
I love how you pointed out, like, the game before the Cyclone build just has his hand on his chin, scratching. Scratching his chin, like, what should I do?
Which number's higher, 3 Cyclones or 4 Cyclones? 4. Uh-oh.
I think
he's doing a throwback.
Yeah,
he's
throwback
not going
to
do
2
a
hours
Cyclone
ago.
build. I remember this from earlier tonight.
Throwback to 2 hours
2 barracks
ago.
is at the entrance.
Will he get the 3rd one in the main?
I just want to know if he's going to wall in next time with 2 factories and do the Cyclone build again, and we're just going to see all the builds kind of converge together.
I actually think he's rallying to build the barracks right now. Oh, he baited me. That rally, it looked like he was rallying to build the barracks,
That one was
man.
just to get the casters. He swings the camera. He's like, I'm everywhere.
All right, now he throws down the 3rd racks. Of course, we get it off screen. Yeah, this is a throwback. He did this in
He did this earlier today.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly the build order setup though, because both games were 3 racks, right? But one was.
It was Reapers into I want to say 7 Reapers into a bunch of Marines, and then he had a couple tactics that he set up where it looked like maybe his stuff would get it was exposed to being surrounded when in fact it was a setup, and then he pulled SCVs.
Yeah.
And then he lost the game.
This game's kind of.
I've got it down.
It sounds good. Maybe you should do that again.
Photographic memory of this. They call me the caster elephant because I got a memory like an elephant.
I have a problem whenever I'm casting where I can't. If you ask me what happened game 1 ByuN versus Dark, I probably can't remember.
Me and Artosis, we tested this. We actually have not been able to remember every single game when we get out of the studio for a cast. There's some part of your brain when you're trying to soak all this up.
Yeah, but it's different. If I watch somebody else cast, or I watch it be streamed, photographic memory, I know exactly what happened and when. But yeah, it's odd. It's an odd quirk.
So the first Reaper's out, and we do have the 3rd hatchery being made just south of this screenshot here. Oh, ByuN, you're so greedy.
He makes it work. I mean, how often do you see ByuN lose Reapers in that kind of situation?
That's
almost
true.
Never.
He's probably the best Reaper user in the whole world.
Yeah, he's single-handedly trying to get them nerfed again, it feels. He loves his Reapers.
CC coming down. Slowling's inbound here to intercept. Are they in the same bushes?
Yeah, they're in the same bushes. He's like, I saw Dark do this against you.
Dark,
I'm
I
gonna
know
get
your
the Reaper the
moves.
same
I have
way.
Dark's powers now.
I wonder how much of that's actually for him watching Dark. All right, hatchery does get canceled.
A good last-second save.
Yeah.
Well, you just bank Reapers behind, you know, the Raxes. Now, we literally saw mostly the same game happen in these same spawns earlier.
Yeah.
So
it's a little different this time. This time, instead of going for combat shields and stim with a marine push and a delayed engineering bay, we're getting the engineering bay really quickly. We only have one tech lab on the barracks instead of two. So there should be more marines, and I'm expecting this to not quite hit as early as the first push did. And I'm curious exactly how ByuN is going to try and play out of it. But again, just talking about planning for a best of X series, the fact that Dongregyu watched the first games between ByuN and Dark, and this looks exactly the same to that. Even if he gets a scout into the main base and if he sees that third barracks, which I'm not sure if he's going to do, and
hold on.
actually hold that thought. Things coming in. Can you wiggle your way out of this one, ByuN?
Does he have that kind of grenade finesse to get out of here? I don't think he does.
No, not this time.
No.
No ledges
So,
there.
Look, I mean, it's weird to say. The Reapers, if this was going to be one where he pulls the boys, like sends the SUVs across the map, the Reapers do a little bit of something, you know, even though they are basically obsolete units once you get into any tech past, you know, the starting buildings. To lose that, maybe we won't see an SCV pull. And obviously, I'm sure there's a way to play this without an SCV pull. It's not like, oh, that's the whole build, is you pull the SCVs, but...
Yeah, I'd be really surprised to see an SCV pull at this point, but I do like this as a plan in a best of X series, knowing that DRG watched you play against Dark, just do kind of the same thing, but not exactly.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a very good way of mixing it up. We even saw DRG doing that in Game 1 and Game 2 versus Dark, where he went for the same kind of... The first time a fully committed Ling pressure or the Roach in the Evolution Chamber at the front where it looks like Roaches, and then Game 2, exact same setup, but the Lings are just to attack a little bit, and you drone behind it, try and deny the third base. So really a lot of different players coming through today with some creative plans for their group. You can see a lot of preparation went into Group C, which makes it very fun and dynamic, I gotta say.
So the Marines are going to come out now. A little bit of pressure. We don't have the medevacs over here yet. I would be surprised if he actually commits to stimming through here. But if he does, he's going to have to find an angle where he can kind of loop through and get back out because, you know, if you're stimming without medevacs there, you're really limited. I think the two medevacs are almost there to come up here, though, so that's not going to be the case this time around. But DRG's ready. I mean, he's coming down here to address this.
Yeah, +1 infantry weapons not yet done for ByuN, so this isn't really the timing he wants to attack in. Oh, those are some really brave Marines in the front. And ByuN's going to rotate down into the triangle third so he can find some damage.
I mean, this is just never going to work, so he has to pick up. He might try to glide into the main.
I think it was good, though. He lost only one Marine, killed like maybe double digits of... Oh, wow! 4 overboards! Oh, man, he wishes he could get those.
Yeah. If he was able to just kill all those, that
like
would actually be really big.
It's like a loot chest. This is a gotcha game. That's how Microsoft is going to bring you back.
Yeah. What happens? Well, it drops out a round of 8 match. That's what you get.
It's like for the campaign, like if you kill a cluster of enough overlords, they stop dropping like minerals and like caches.
All you got to do is touch them with your Marines. And you get them. So he's going to tear down the rocks over here and try to basically pave a path that can give him pretty immediate access. Now, there are no... Well, okay, I was going to say, if those Lings chose to surround that and the medevacs don't get over there in time, you could drop a tank or two. But it seems like he's cleaned this up, and this is like very accessible here for Terran. We're going to get the tank siege up. I don't know that DRG can hold this. Oh my god, and the hatchery just now finishes. Not that it was a mistake to let it finish, but now, you know, with that very small amount of time, he has to figure out, okay, do I just ditch this? And I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah, those tanks were in a really good defensive position. I like the setup ByuN is working with this attack, and these queens, they are high in energy. DRG still waiting for Baneling speed to complete, only 57 drones in total, so his economy, he sacrificed a lot to try and be able to muster a force that can hold this push, but ByuN, he's not overextending. He's waiting for reinforcements to come back in. He's only pushing off of creep, but maybe that's a little bit too far as DRG coming in. Surround on both the tanks, the Bane lanes, focus fire down, so no connections on the Marines.
Oh, he misclicked there too. I think he clicked on the ground instead of the Bane link, so they actually moved into it. That just gives up such a crucial position. The Bane's still doing damage as DRG just mops up the remainder of what's over there. Does manage to get the tank in the nick of time, but you know, there's no third base landed right now. This is ByuN committed to 2 bases. Doesn't mean he can't get a third base later on, but whenever you see 2 base play like this, you need to actually get things done, or the Zerg's going to have a 4th base like he already does, and then a 5th. And eventually, when you're trying to expand and defend, by then the Zerg has already mustered too much. The economic engine's too strong, and he'll just topple you.
And DRG looks like he's gunning for a counterattack now. I think he recognizes the situation, and anything he can do to buy time and slow down ByuN is going to be very valuable for him, as a lot of links flood into the natural expansion. ByuN has to decide exactly what to do. Looking at the mini-map, it seems like he's sending some of the units back, perhaps the Liberators, while he pushes the front here against DRG.
Oh my God, DRG is just murdering here. ByuN's going to try to come up, and you know, we'll see how far this push can go, but if he can't, you know, take out the 4th, the 3rd, and the 2nd, I don't think there's any way to win this game.
Yeah, it's all or nothing right now for ByuN.
Yeah. And this looks to me like probably a game 3. I mean, the infrastructure is just getting destroyed. And I think DRG's showing a lot of patience here. He's just staying back, getting whatever he needs to get to deal with this.
Yeah, the standing army for ByuN, it is scary, it is strong, but it's also not getting better, whereas DRG is continuing to macro up, and he says that it's time to go in. These Lings get a big surround onto the Marines. Baneling's coming in for connections. Nice siege tank shots on them, but it's not going to be enough. He's using the Liberators to the best of his ability right now. Almost all of the Queens have been cleaned up, but there's really nothing on the ground to help ByuN.
This game is, I think, basically over. I mean, the Zerg is still operating on 3 healthy bases and a 4th one that can be replenished with ease. The only thing that ByuN could try to do is to float around and find a place to land, only to then pick up again.
Yeah.
Now, he is sending another set of reinforcements. He's not really rebuilding his economy. He's buying time, but I you know, unless I'm wrong about this, it just seems like there's too much in the pipe right now for DRG. I don't see a world where, you know, this small amount that he's recreated, and you could see he's still focused on just remaking that now. I don't see where that's ever going to win him a game.
Especially with 2-2 done against the 1-1 of ByuN. Those Lings are going to trade really well against the Marines, and I feel like we're going to a game 3. I would be surprised. It would be miraculous for ByuN to be able to pull this one out of the hat, and DRG knows it. Going to meet him in the middle of the map. Baneling connections, not the best, but they're certainly better than he needs.
GG. DRG evens it up 1-1. And I'm looking at ByuN now, and I'm trying to figure out how many Cyclones he's thinking about.
See if he starts scratching his chin again?
Yeah. Maybe 6 Cyclones. Now, look, you know, there was a bit of strategic redundancy there from ByuN, where it's like, okay, this is literally the map you did that on earlier. Today.
Yeah.
I just don't, you know, the reason why we have best of 3s and best of 5s and best of 7s and group stages is that it forces players to have a lot of different strategies, a lot of different approaches. It's why we have all these different maps too. And you could see that, you know, I think in that situation, ByuN tried an old magic trick, and DRG had read that book. You know, he knew what was coming and said, all right, well, I'll stop that.
Well, we're going to go to Oceanborn to decide whether DRG or ByuN is going to be the last player from Group C to advance into the round of 8. ByuN looking to be in really good form with these attacks, but DRG, game 2, his defense was on point. Going head-to-head right now. Game is loading up. I started this intro way too early.
I know, and now I got to keep talking. How will I close this out? Who knows? All right, we're ready for this next game. Actually, the last game, DRG versus ByuN.
Club NV DRG. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
Okay. First gas comes down. Is he going to get a second gas, or will he get a second Rax? Or do we have a whole other build entirely? I think it is going to be the second Rax.
Yeah, it does seem to be that way. One of the nice things about this opening that ByuN has been going for pretty much all year in Code S is that you can really branch out in a variety of different ways, and it's hard for Zerg to get a full grasp on what you are doing, especially because not all Terrans in the meta play like this. You really have to prepare specifically for ByuN coming into a series such as this one, and you know, he's shown a pretty wide range of openings so far. With these two barracks, he's shown combat shield and stim attacks coming in, where he kind of rotates through and just uses 2 or 3 charges of stim before retreating out and regrouping with medevacs. That's what he did against Dark earlier on. Against DRG, he tried to do kind of something a little bit similar there with +1 and stim, but no combat shields and really wasn't able to find too much damage at all. So it's been kind of hit or miss today in terms of the openings here for ByuN.
Yeah.
And that makes me wonder if he's going to come back and try and do something a little bit more solid and macro-focused, because really he hasn't been trying to take a third base all too quickly in any of these games.
No,
it's pretty much all been aggression.
You're totally right. Sorry, I didn't mean to run over you there. Like, I think that you're 100% right. Like, he's been very adverse to 3 bases. We've had one game that went to 3 bases, and frankly, it didn't go that well. But I will say his 2-base play has been so impressive. Like, he really is able to overpower in ways that look even better than he has in past seasons. Like, some of these ways he pushes in and just carves out a position is pretty remarkable. Oh, he gets a drone kill.
Nice.
Moral victory.
Oftentimes, even with a 2-Rex Reaper opening like this one, you don't find too much damage in the natural expansion. It's really mostly about shutting down any potential creep spread or denying that third base from getting up.
Well, people have just gotten so good at microing drones around that it's like we just expect it to be perfect every time, and when it doesn't happen, it's like, what? This is wild. So he will go down now and start to pressure that third hatch. Is he not going to do that?
I think he only has 2 Reapers, so he'd rather try and get some scouting information maybe. I mean, getting a tumor like this is more valuable, in my opinion, than getting a couple hundred damage done on a hatchery.
Stim is coming pretty quickly here. So
and a second tech lab too. So this is looking like the stim combat shield push without medevacs that we saw earlier on in the day.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I will say it doesn't seem like ByuN has the widest range of builds. And just to be clear, because there might be some people that are annoyed that I'm talking like this, it's very different to do the same kind of aggro timing, maybe somewhat cheesy builds several times in a row, than to do like a standard macro game build. Okay, those are very different. Macro game builds are generally meant that you can run through a system of games over and over again, and usually if you're covering all your bases, you're fine. Where a lot of this is hinged on the element of surprise. But, you know, ByuN did look very scary when he tried this approach.
Yeah, this is either the 3rd or the 4th game that he's gone for this so far today. So there is a little bit of advantage in that he's shown at least 3 different flavors of the same kind of push coming out. And the response from Zerg has to be a little bit different every single time. If you drone too heavily against this push, then you're absolutely going to get punished by Combat Shield and Stim Marines just charging into your natural expansion, killing your third hatchery, killing a lot of queens. And it might not end the game outright, but it certainly could.
Lings come back around. The rally is set to the safe side. And he's not able to deny reinforcements. Well, I guess he's delaying them. He's at least doing that.
So the goal of this push is to try and get as much damage done as possible. Ideally snipe down a ton of these queens, trade favorably with the roaches, and then have a good portion of these Marines stim back out and get home. Because with no medevacs, you're limited on time, and a lot of early queens going down. This is
doing
big damage.
About as perfect of a job as you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
And there's that circular formation we talked about earlier where it's like he has a route to get in, loop through, and get back out. Kind of like a Terran drive-by shooting almost. But, hey, it is cleaned up by the roaches. But what was that, like 6 or 7 queens killed?
It was a good number. DRG went all the way down to 2. And I kind of like that play from ByuN because he recognized that he could actually just trade these units out very favorably. And yes, they will not be able to get home. They will be cleaned up by the reinforcing Lings, but it was worth it in this case. Well, so now ByuN pulling SCVs. He wants to defend the natural. He doesn't know exactly how committed DRG is to this counter.
It seems like this is set up for right before the Zerg gets a layer too, which just makes it a little bit harder to get even more, queens and everything else you need to defend out. So
it's a very good timing.
You're hitting them right at a point of development where it's like they're trying to finish a lot of other things, and so it does make it kind of wobbly for them as the game develops.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite TVZ builds that we get to cast. I love the flow of it, just kind of pushing almost a suicide squad of Marines across the map and trading them out for value, and then behind it you have +1 infantry weapons coming, you have double medevac production, although delayed, and eventually a third command center, and you can play a macro game from there. And if you're not at the top level of Zerg like DRG is, it can be hard to respond to a push like this one.
Right.
And then try to macro up behind it because everything kind of gets derailed. You get down to 2 queen counts, you have to start producing a large number of queens at a time of the game where, as you said, it feels very awkward because you want to get your layer up. You want to start spreading that creep. You also need to be doing injects, and suddenly that energy is gone. Right? So it's a very fun opening. But all things considered, I think I would give a slight edge to ByuN with the amount of damage he got with the queens, but DRG is by no means out of this one. And actually going for a lot of Ravagers back at home. I'm surprised he's committing so heavily into the Roach Ravager style.
Yeah, I worry, especially if there's momentum here from ByuN. He just starts to snipe down all your Ravagers, and the game can end pretty fast. He is going to unload over here onto this creep blind spot, but it seems like DRG is pretty prepared to take that head on. Is he going to go in the main instead? This could lie just out of the vision, just through the fog of war.
Coming into the main base. One of the downsides of playing this Roach Ravager style is you are not as mobile on the map as you could be. Lings would have already been able to clean this up, but instead one queen falls. Fair trade for a couple of Marines, although please get out of there.
Is he moving there?
Okay.
Okay.
He's going to get biled.
Yeah, Nidus Worm.
Oh! He really did watch that Dark series.
Yeah, this is just like two guys copying each other's homework.
And then it really is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So we're going to play a back and forth that's not quite as good as the Dark ByuN series.
I love all of the Overlords over the Nidus too to make it harder to see.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's the thing in RTS. Like, you could just like stack a bunch of stuff up there.
No.
Oh boy.
If ByuN loses another game in the same way, oh no.
No way.
Oh, my heart is breaking right now.
My Terran main is breaking right now. Here we go.
He goes to the depot just one too late.
Yeah, and you can see.
It's not as committed. He's not unloading everything into the main base just yet. Yeah, wanted to actually respond to this drop. And so actually this is going pretty well for ByuN. He's going to clean up a lot of these roaches. SCVs are getting pulled. We'll see if he continues to trade well. Oh, that's a lot of units, Tasteless.
Yeah, it's a lot of SCVs that have been killed off. The drops have been managed, so he could even bring more in here. Keep in mind, with the Ravagers, if you're able to just get those corrosive biles on those tanks, that's all the work you got to do.
Yeah, that might be it. The start of the engagement went pretty well for ByuN, but the reinforcements from DRG are too much, and he will join Dark out of Group C going into the round of 8, and it's a heartbreaker. You can see him laughing, and ByuN just absolutely frustrated with that one, losing 2 games to 2 different Zergs in exactly the same way.
Man,
it's painful.
It's one of those things you got to cross your T's, you got to dot your I's. You have to have vision of your main, especially if you go for a late third base like that. The Nidus is, I think, much stronger against that. You're just developing at a different pace. We're going to be going to an interview here with DRG. Andy will be translating. Let's see how he's feeling. He's going to the round of 8.
DRG, you said it'd be a miracle for you if you make it to round of 8, but you did make it happen. Congratulations. Thank you. How does it feel to make it to round of 8? Honestly, I really didn't think I'd make it. I did make a lot of preparation. I did make a lot of mistakes too. And I couldn't sleep well because I was so nervous. But somehow I made it. I mean, the beginning was really good for you. Then things started going a little bit downhill for you, and then you had to take a long pass to make it to the round of 8. And there must be some disappointment, right? Oh yeah, definitely.
준비한 게 있었는데
I mean, there was a strategy that I prepared against Dark,
계획이 많이 틀어져.
but I couldn't use it, and then my whole scenario kind of failed.
제가 유리한 순간이 많았던 것 같은데.
And even in the second game, the third game, there were moments where I had the advantage, but I let it slip, and I'm kind of disappointed by that.
본인의 스타일에 좀 변화를 꾀하는 저글링 올인이 인상 깊었고.
And you went for the Zergling all-in in the first game.
원래 박수호랑 탑이 엄청 공격적이다라고 생각이 좀 들었는데 최근에 스타일 변화를.
And usually you are very aggressive in GSL, but you did make a lot of variables today.
그래도 레더나 이런 게임에선 되게 운영을 하려고 하는데.
I mean, later matches I tend to prioritize macro, but in an offline best of 3, it's kind of hard to go for the same style. So I did prepare differently. And it didn't really work out well, in my opinion, today. And this year, in the round of 8, we have 3 Zergs. Dark, DRG, Solar. It's the first time we have 3 Zergs in the round of 8. So, what do you think about Zerg right now? The Zerg status. Well, after the balance patch, it's actually gotten harder for me. So I feel like it's been easier before the patch for Zerg. I mean, people are saying Zerg is good right now, but I don't really fully agree with that.
또 8강에 진출했는데 D조에 또 예비역 많지 않습니까? D조 예상을 좀 해주신다면요.
So what are your predictions for Group D?
일단 뭐 준호랑 고병재님.
Well, Hero, Gumiho, I think they are the most likely players to make it to round of 8. Yeah, that's what I think.
기적을 써놓고
Well, you said that it's a miracle for you if you make it to round of 8, and yet you don't think Sue's gonna make it. I see. So what a miraculous match today you've shown. So anything else you want to say to the fans? I was very nervous. I didn't think I'd make it to round of 8, as I said before. As for the round of 8 match, I'll try to prepare harder and try to make sure I put a good performance. And I want to thank Ragnarok and Solar for helping me with practice. They've been a great help for me. Thank you guys. Once again, congratulations on your win and your advancement to round of 8. Thank you.
Excellent work, Andy. Wow, this was a hell of a day. A lot of drama. A lot of these guys. Well, I mean, except for Dark. Dark, I just kind of expect from him to march over, the dead bodies on into the round of 8. But DRG, ByuN, and Astrea, they're guys I'm fans of, right? I want to see them do well. So it's always bittersweet to see that 2 out of those 3 are going to go down. But DRG, I think he had a really, really tough day. And he really did play well. He was able to hang with everybody, including Dark. He almost eliminated Dark. So, I think he's probably not the first in mind when you think of GSL and who could take it, but don't count this guy out.
Hey, he's looking pretty good. Those games with ByuN and Dark look quite impressive. I love the prowess he was showing in ZVZ, which he's certainly going to need to bring to the table in the round of 8, considering how on point Solar has been. And ZVZ is, we take a look here at Group D coming up on Thursday. Gumiho, Su, Classic and Hero. Last hurrah here for Protoss to try and join Creator in the round of 8, but Classic and Hero, 2 of the best to ever do it. Certainly have a good chance. Su, he's been kind of an underdog so far this year. He's trying to come back in a competitive StarCraft 2. Hasn't found too much success. And Gumiho quietly having one of the best years of his career. I gotta say, he's looking very strong. I think Su probably the dark horse in this one, but really anybody can advance.
And Gumiho, this was a guy that used Cyclones more than anybody else.
True.
Pre-patch, what's it going to look like post-patch? Su, probably not going to make it, but I would be pleasantly surprised if he did. I think probably Hero Classic move on here.
I would say Hero Classic or Hero Gumiho are my predictions to advance from that group, but it should be close. And, I mean, one of those things about Gumiho using Cyclones is, well, is he going to really like the new Cyclone that much, though, for his flavor of mech, or is it going to be something that he feels detracts from his play style? It's hard to say.
Well, he's already got all the answers now. He saw ByuN make those 4 Cyclones.
He's just going to do that
and then
build,
another 4, and then another 4. He's like, oh, all right, well, the game is solved. In all seriousness, though, I think it's going to be a great group. And look, with Hero playing as well as he is, I think he's got a real shot still to take this whole thing. I think he's another major threat. If you want to watch our show live in the studio, the information is at the bottom of the screen. Buy a ticket. You can buy a ticket on your phone when you get here. but I think it's just a wiser decision to buy ahead of time. They don't. It doesn't cost much. I think it's like $5 or $10.
It's something cheap like
It's
that.
very cheap. It's just so that we have a system so that people can reserve their spot and confirm that they're going to be in here.
Yeah.
And
ticket sales, they do close on match day at 7:30 p.m., so that's an hour into the show. So make sure that you get here before then if you want to buy it at the door. Otherwise, you might be out of luck.
Yeah, you might be out of luck. We can't help you. You try to tweet at us, we won't see it. We'll be casting. So just be sure to be ready. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you Thursday. Bye-bye.